Hello, everybody. Welcome to Night Court. As you can see, we've got a special guest with us tonight. It's Kathy. Everybody say hi.
So excited. Hi. And my kid just texted me, can I stay out until 10? Oh, God. These kids. Hang on one second. Because the mother's work is never done. Give me 1 second.
So when I said, do you have hot takes? We're going to have some hot takes.
My hot take is that my child wants to stay out until 10 o'clock at night, even though he's only 15 years old. There's some trollop.
I'm not ready for that.
There's some trollop that lives a couple of blocks from here. I'm sorry. Go ahead. We were off to something else.
I hope they're tuned in.
I assure you they are not. I've done a tremendous amount of TV, and my kids just die at the idea that I would be on anything public.
Really? What have you done? Can you say?
Yeah. So the 15-year-old who's texting me now the thumbs up, he's happy he can stay out late. I gave birth on a baby story because I will do anything for attention.
Really?
Yeah, I was a real estate agent, and so I was like, what's a good way to sell some houses? And I couldn't get on any of those real estate shows. And I was pregnant, so I was like, I have an idea. So I had a baby on a baby story. I've been on Oprah, The Nate Berkes Show, Dr. Oz, Ricky Lake, Sherry Shepherd, The View, The Chew, tons of stuff.
So you basically have a reel, right? You got an acting reel?
No, because I have a very good job that has nothing to do with that.
That's right. That's fair. That's really cool, though.
Plus, I know lots and lots of actors, and I would not want their lives. No, thank you.
No. My only brush was I was an extra on the show Good Lord Bird. That was on Showtime.
Never heard of it.
And it had Ethan Hawke in it and Daveed Diggs, and it was.
Oh.
So I was on a train in a scene, and 2 rows in front of me was Ethan Hawke, which was really cool. But more cool that I was 2 degrees away from Robin Williams, because obviously my hero, because Ethan was with Robin. So
that's awesome. I've met a ton of celebrities. Rarely have I been like, this person is really cool. Yeah. There's one that I'm actually like very good friends with who comes to my house and whatever. We did a game show together. But that reel is now that is on my YouTube channel someplace. We did Celebrity Who Wants to Be a Millionaire. We won like 30 grand. But anyway, most celebrities, it's better to meet them not at all ever.
Yeah.
My personal experience.
I got really spoiled. Ethan was neutral, but my best the best person that I ever chatted with was Weird Al. And he is a lovely human being, truly.
That's so cool. I mean, because I live in North Jersey, like a lot of folks live here locally. My son was convinced for a while. One of my older sons was, I have 4 sons. One of my older boys was convinced that Tracy Morgan was following him around. I was like, I promise you, Tracy Morgan is not following you around. He's like, I'm telling you, Mom, I see him everywhere. I think he's following me. I was like, maybe not. Maybe not.
Hey, you're not that interesting.
Right. Also, he was a teenager. I was like, you stink. You don't bathe on a regular basis. You're a bad driver. Like, why would he be following you around? Get out of here. Not to be rude, but Mama's got to keep it real. I mean, seriously.
Well, that's
but then they figured out like where Chris Rock lived, and so they would always go to Chris Rock's neighborhood to trick or treat. It's a whole thing.
Chris, anytime somebody mentions Chris Rock, I want to do an impression of Chris Rock, and then I know that I'll probably get canceled or get in trouble.
Leave it alone, my friend. Leave it alone. Leave it alone.
I'm leaving it. It's under the bed. It will never come out
Yeah.
ever. He just
Yeah.
has that voice that I like. It's the voice that I like.
Mm-hmm.
So, it's like Eddie Murphy. I love Eddie Murphy's voice. Like I'll
Yeah.
listen to Donkey all day long. Just because he was so expressive in it, right?
That's so funny. I don't know. I mean, actually, both of them used to have houses right over there. Chris Rock's wife is still in the community. She's everywhere. His ex-wife now, I guess. But I've seen
Yeah.
her at a lot of mom things. A lot of mom things.
Man. Is Chris was he doing stuff up in Ohio? Is that Chris? No.
No,
Who's
that's
the
Dave Chappelle.
That's Dave Chappelle. Thank you.
Yeah.
Uh,
Chris Rock lives in Alpine, New Jersey, like right there.
like that way. That way.
Over there. And a lot of rappers, a lot of rappers live around here. A lot of rappers.
How was your day? How was your day?
How was what?
How was your day?
It was fantastic. I had to go on a site visit for my job, and the people weren't there, so I just went to the zoo instead.
Well,
Don't tell my boss.
well, just you, me, and 117 other people. Just us friends.
It's fine. It's fine. The zoo was on the way to where I was going. And when the people
There
were
it
going to
is.
be late, I was like, well, what do you want from me? So I went to the zoo. The bears were sleeping. I saw a red panda. I saw some, like, what are those birds that like swimming and they jump up out of the water? Dolphin? No, not dolphins. Penguins. They stink, but the place was really cool. I loved it in there.
Penguins are Mrs. Bruce Crime favorite animal, and I don't have the heart to
Love
tell
them.
her just how much they poop all the time. Because I think it
They
would ruin Happy Feet for everybody.
they smell
So,
horrific. I live with teenage boys, and they smell worse than teenage boys. It is an entire situation. I'm telling you right now. But they're cute. Just,
they're
you're like, oh, you're adorable. I love you. You're great. But
Brandi said, "Oh my God, did you see pandas?
I saw red pandas.
Red pandas are adorable,
So cute. So
right?
cute. And that is, I mean, I get the feeling that regular pandas are not the brightest bulbs. They're adorable though, and they fall and they roll. I love that. Like
Right.
any sort of animal, I am all about it.
Well, let's do this real fast before we get into your section. Let me share the top 3,
Yes.
and then we'll go from there. Okay. Maybe not. Maybe I'll choose not to do the audio here. Is it gonna work? That's a problem in the long run, huh?
What'd you do?
That's a really, really good question. I've been having problems all day long
Uh-oh.
with a lot of different things. When in doubt, try and restart it.
It looked fine to me.
Yeah, it was
But
just
what
the
do I know?
sound.
What was wrong with the sound?
I don't know. I couldn't hear a darn thing. Could you guys?
Oh, I can hear it. Yeah, I can hear it fine.
Oh, I can't hear nothing. What is happening with my devices? 1 second, everybody. I'm sorry. That helps me though. That does help me
Yeah, no,
understand.
I can hear it great.
Okay. All right.
Also, we could just sing the song and then you could just play the names because we know what it sounds like.
That's very true. Um, where are you? Channel 4.
I'm drinking out of my I'm a Ray of Sunshine water bottle.
Ooh. Let me try that. Nope, that didn't do it. Okay. This is going to be very difficult for me to listen to Jodi.
Oh. You can hear me though, right?
I can hear you perfectly fine.
Okay. I mean, I have a big mouth. Who can't hear me?
No.
Jesus.
Why don't you tell folks what you've been up to with gossip, rumor, and innuendo while I try and do this?
Girl. Okay, so look. There's not like an active trial that I'm following right now. So I'm just sort of like bouncing around following all different things and always snapped because you know I love snap. Oh, I love a mad lady. And by mad, I mean like not just angry, that kind of mad, like crazy. no disrespect to the mentally ill, because we love our mentally ill friends, but if you get so unhinged, upset, off your rocker that you kill somebody, that's bad, especially if you're bad at crime and you might go to jail. So I've been focusing on Snapped and then American Justice and then a new series that I call Apropos of Nothing, where I tell you a story that is not related to anything at all. It's just something that happened that I think is interesting and would like to share it. And there's one that I weekend, but I don't know if I've run it yet. But I could give you a sneak peek. So there's this cat that lives in my neighborhood, and I'm allergic to cats, so we can't have a cat. But I figured the best way for me to have a cat is to not have a cat. So I'm feeding the cat that comes to my front porch. And the cat showed up the other day, and my husband had an entire conversation with the cat because I was not home. And I was like, "Do you think that cat speaks English?" He said the cat knew what I was talking about. I think he's out of his damn mind. But listen, I don't know if he can hear me. You ain't heard that from me. But he's crazy. I'm just saying. It's a cute cat, and I want to name it. I think I'm going to name her Callie for Calico. But then I like the name Esme because it's like pretentious and makes you want to put your pinkies out. But I don't know if the name Esme is cat related. I think it means beloved, but maybe she's a beloved cat. I don't know.
Maybe. I think I fixed it.
Oh, look!
And it was something.
Maybe my babbling mindlessly is magical.
It was something as simple as my output was set wrong because I had to restart my computer. Let's do this.
Okay.
Ricky Watson.
Portland Trailblazer. Stop barking! You see me on a live stream. Sorry.
You don't care.
It's like when your mom screams at you and then the phone rings. She's like, "You damn kids!" Hello. That's my house.
It's it's
Holly. Mm-hmm.
But so cute. But so cute.
They're fighting over nothing. It's a stupid toy, and I would pull it out of Daisy's mouth, but it might pull all her teeth out because she's a Yorkie poo. You know they got bad teeth. She only got like 4 of them left anyway.
Oh,
Just saying.
Oh no.
She cute.
That's
though.
like that's
She's
my
cute.
11-year-old Ramona, the coonhound, bloodhound, redbone mix of all sorts. You know what? We talked about you giving your hot takes tonight, huh? And
Yes,
I think
we
it's
did.
time.
Wait, is it after 9 o'clock?
Is it?
Okay.
We are. Hold on. We're 25 seconds away. Should
1
we wait?
minute.
Should we wait?
No, we don't have to wait. It's fine. It's fine.
By the time this is
It's
over,
not-
it'll be time. Here's
Okay.
the new segment. When Kathy's on, we're going to be doing this, and enjoy this new
God.
clip. That's right. It's time for Hot Takes with Kathy.
So look, this is what I'm thinking about Ms. Arias. First of all, I know that we're doing jury questions, and I made a whole list of questions on my way to work this morning because I have thoughts and I have questions. But first of all, this is what I think. Did Jodi Arias invent the Dirty Sanchez defense? And if you don't know what a Dirty Sanchez is, you might need to Google that, but don't Google it while you're at work because you might get fired. I'm just letting you know right now. But what I'm saying is, all of this, she's talking about the chocolate starfish and what she's doing with all of her different body parts or whatever. What is happening with this lady? And if you know the truth, like I know the truth, yes, the eyes are the window to the soul, but the teeth, watchers of Gossip Room in your window, you know what the teeth are. The teeth are the window to how you keep your nether regions. Now, listen, if your teeth are clean and floss, they don't have to be straight. You don't have to be, but if you just brush, floss, whatever, if you're keeping it good up here, I know you're keeping it good down there. But anytime somebody smiles at me, they got stuff in their teeth, I'm like, okay, I see. So I want to see Jodi's teeth. That's all I'm saying.
Candace said, "Oh Lord, I just Googled it."
You're not at work though, right? You're not. If you're not at work, you're fine. Don't.
I hope
Don't
not,
say
because it
around
would
your
be a
kids
school.
Oh God! Yeah, no. But I'm telling you right now, Jodi Arias invented the Dirty Sanchez defense, and I fully expect other people to use it. I'm surprised Lori Dallo Daybell didn't use it. I'm just saying. She's like,
Yeah.
my kitty is feral. I do nasty things. I might do full Cirque du Soleil, and I'm going to stick this landing, and then I'm going to try and get off of the court case. I mean, obviously, somebody else got whatever. But what I'm saying is, Jodi invented it. Lori thought she perfected it, but we looked at Lori and was like, nah, girl, nah. It's not going to go good for you. And it didn't. L-whopped. Life without the possibility of parole. I thought the Dirty Sanchez was a mustache. It is. What is the mustache made of, and how did it get on the face? Those are the burning questions. Daisy May, I've had just about enough. Sorry.
And if they're burning, you did it wrong.
Yes. Yes. Or you
What do
might
think
just
of
need to go
Juan?
visit the free clinic. I'm just saying.
What do you think of Juan?
I think everybody involved in this case is just a little too extra. Just a little. If you can just dial it back just a little bit. And I know something about that being too extra. Like I've done some research and I know a little. Oh, you crying, twins. I love it. I love it so much. I was sitting here and I was like, wait, we're about to start. I have to find a crown. And then I just like lifted up my spare keyboard and there was a crown right underneath it. See? Crafts.
Boom.
They come in handy.
They
I also
do.
made a cat out of pom-poms.
Look at you.
And hair. I was unsatisfied with one of my dreadlocks tonight, so I cut one out and I was like, where's my hair? I made hair yarn and I use hair yarn to make my very own dreadlocks. Because I make everything.
That's amazing. And
My
something
actual hair is like an inch long. Maybe like when I took a dreadlock out today, I was like, how long is it? My actual hair is like maybe that long. But now I have these beautiful human hair tresses from the hair that I spun on my spinning wheel.
Look at you.
Multi-talented.
So you said that Ricky, we're not talking about a normal mustache there, so don't worry, you're safe. You're safe, Ricky. Your mustache is legendary, so you're good. So you were saying that everybody's a little extra.
Little bit.
Trial.
Everybody in this trial is a little bit extra, although the judge seems to be relatively even keeled. But these lawyers, I'm like, everybody needs to take a chill, like a giant. I mean, I'm showing my age, chill pill, sweet Jesus. But I'm saying, my doctor gave me these like drops that are supposed to calm you down for when you like have lady hormones or whatever. I need to send these folks some of these little drops. I'm telling you, it's ridiculous. I'm not saying they all have menopause, but I'm saying, like, my mother is a good Christian lady, and she would say, I would never call anybody a bish, but I would say she has ways likened unto that of a bish. So I'm not saying they're crazy. I'm saying they have ways likened unto that of those who might not be all mentally all pulled together. That's all I'm saying. That's all I'm saying. Also, did she bring character witnesses? Did Jodi ever bring character witnesses in this trial?
I think it's after this, because what they do is they have some doctors that still have yet to go, which I don't really know how they did things out of order like this, but hey, here we are. But there are still doctors and things that need to go. Katie's saying nope, so I'm guessing nope. But
who would be her character witness? Like, honest to God, who's she gonna get? There was the dude that I did nasty things with behind the chapel, the dude that I did nasty things with in the diner. Like, who are these people? Her church members?
The only person she thought was like her confidant rolled over on her, I believe. So yep.
All them family home evenings gone to waste. Dang.
I do have a crown. I do.
Yes, we're crown twins. It'll make you sweaty after a few minutes, but it's cute in the beginning.
I'm used to it with the wigs. It's cool.
Oh, okay. I'm not mad at that. Look, a flash will hit me and it'll come right off. You're lucky if I only take off the crown. I'm saying I might take off my money shirt and everything. Character witness Satan. That sounds right. That sounds right.
Oh, Thadam. Oh, Adam. Adam. He made me say Thadam. Adam wants to know, how do you feel about Gus?
Who is Gus?
Do you remember Gus? Gus was the semi-magician / he was really grody. Let me see if I can bring him back. Oh,
Please.
I'm gonna bring back Gus. Let's see here.
I only ever watch the first few minutes of Night Court because I fall asleep. This is after my bedtime, honey. All this cute does not happen by itself. I need rest. I need hydration. I need exercise. I need a lot of stuff. High maintenance.
All right, so I'm gonna show you a little bit of Gus here.
Okay.
All right. Come on now.
Oh God.
It is would be wrong. It is multi-level. That I will agree with.
Oh wait, hold on. Let's go back just a little bit because Juan is trying to convince
Gus.
that MLMs of
the top of what appears to be a pyramid, those people are the ones that are making the money.
Objection, argumentative.
Overruled.
It's not a pyramid, so to say it is would be wrong. It is multi-level. That I will agree with.
Well, sir, so your answer is you won't answer that question, right? As proposed.
As stated.
Okay. Well, then let's use a triangle, right? It's not call it a pyramid. Let's call it a triangle. The people at the very top of the triangle, those are the people that are the directors. Those are the people that have the rings. Those are the people that go to the executive ball, right?
It's more like a circle if you want to get into geometry.
Sir, that's not my question to you, is it? I'm asking you who's making the money, aren't I?
The people who work the hardest.
Sustained.
Who's making the money?
The people
that are at the top or the people that are down here that they signed up?
Sir, you are wrong. There are people at the top that don't have anybody underneath them.
I didn't know his name, but I knew that face.
I'm gonna try and see if I can find his personal video that we watched briefly.
Oh my God.
Just to make you chuckle a little bit more. Oh.
He just looks oily. I bet it was like a grease spot on that seat when he got up.
That's pretty much how I felt about it. Oh, here you go. Here we go. Get ready.
I was 7.5 years old. I was at Disneyland at Cub Scout Day where they let you in about an hour earlier than the rest of the people so you get to run around and get on the rides quicker without the big lines. That was the first time I was ever away from my parents. I remember it really well. Got there that morning, took off running. I got to a place called Sleeping Beauty Castle, and that was about as far as I could make it running as a little kid. I was sitting there resting. There was a song playing, which is now my favorite song in the world, called When You Wish Upon a Star, which, if you listen to the words, by the way, is actually the premise of The Secret, the law of attraction. Anything your heart desires will come to you.
Don't ruin Disney for me, Gus.
And as I was listening to the song, it says, when you wish upon a star, it makes no difference who you are. Anything your heart desires will come to you. If your heart is in your dreams, no request is too extreme. When you wish upon a star, your dreams come true. I started to listen to that song, and I was already a little cynical at 7.5. And I said, if that were true, that would be like magic. And then I turned around, and there was a magic shop. Now, that was weird. I just said magic, and there's magic.
Because he does magic, Kathy.
I cannot. He looks like he's about to sell me a used car. Also, for some reason, he looks like a pepperoni to me.
He does look like a pepperoni. Look, here's his bird.
I was very close to my father. I've been so upset that I never did magic again. A lot of people just don't do anything again when something like that happens because it's too painful to remind them of it.
Even the bird's trying to get away. The bird is like, ow, ow! Oh my God.
They eventually show him. Here's his girlfriend.
We decided that we don't really get along. We're matched for each other. But I think you should meet him. He's an inventor, and I have.
I'm very confused by this. Very confused by that. Just a whole heck of a lot.
I have so many questions. First of all, that is a very cute dog.
Yes.
I need to know what breed that dog was. But it looked like a Jack Russell or one of those sort of terrier type situations. But who is dating him? For the very life of me, I cannot imagine. He has something else going for him that we just don't see. Yes, he's greasy pizza. That is exactly that. You sales car adjacent. Absolutely. I'm telling you, he should be selling hair club for men. Mm-hmm. Or just like, but you know, he would get one of those wigs that just look like you took a dead cat and plopped it on his head. Like, no, it's perfectly natural. No one can tell this is not really my hair. Child, please have all the seats in the world.
Well, he couldn't put a crown like this on because it just slipped right off. Just all the grease. Just
from the grease. Yes, Captain Slick Spot. Like, ew, grease balls of fire.
Grease balls of fire.
Absolutely. Oh my gosh. Wait, you had Jodi's attorney on here, Neri, right? Neri, that's his name?
Yeah, Kirk Neri, yes. Yes.
Neri. I'm just dying to know. Like, I only saw part of it because, of course, I fell asleep. Did they get along well?
No, not at all. He tried to get off the case, I think 5 times. They denied it every single time. There's a lot of stuff. Now, admittedly, he is indeed the attorney, and so with that comes his choices to do certain things. However,
right.
I think if he didn't choose to do exactly what Jodi wanted him to do, she was going to claim ineffective counsel, which was going to be a problem. But you notice in the trial, he calls her Miss Arias, and his book is called Trapped with Miss Arias, and he uses Miss Arias because she absolutely abhors being called Miss Arias. So that's why he would do it.
I like him better now that I know that, because before I was like, listen, this dude, but I like him better now that I know he didn't like her, or that they didn't mesh.
Have you seen what Kirk looks like now, though?
Yeah. He's on Law and Order, not Law and Order, Court TV all the time. He was there this morning. Yeah. Well, I was watching him this morning. I don't know where he was this morning.
Probably at his house. Oh man,
he looks like a totally different human being now. It's wild.
He's super duper nice. When Stella had passed away, my dog, he actually sent me a message on Twitter with his condolences, which I was like, that is so nice of him. He's so busy.
Sweet.
Yeah.
That's what he's like a stand-up comic now or something, right?
No, he does a lot of motivational speaking.
Maybe
he does do legal commentary. In fact, when we were interviewing him, once we started talking about Jodi, and then the tech problems happened, and I was like, you know what, I feel like we should just go a different route. So I started talking about what he's doing now, which is just a lot of like positive talk and a lot of things like that. He's really turned himself, not that he had anything wrong with him before, but Jodi's case. I mean, after Jodi's case, he ended up having cancer and going through rigorous treatments and such, and it was just like really, really bad. And so he really turned himself around, and so he's using all those experiences now to help other people out, which I really,
Answer. She's toxic and crazy.
Yes.
Makes sense to me. I mean, I just made that up right now. It's not based on any sort of fact or science or anything, but you're not here for science. We didn't go here for science. We're just here to have a little chitty chat. That's it.
I didn't come here to science. So listen, are you any closer to Daryl?
No.
Oh.
I asked my husband to start wearing cowboy boots and all the cowboy accoutrement. He was not interested. And if you knew my husband at all, you would realize how hilarious that is, because he is very much a man from the South Bronx, obsessed with hip hop, all about the South Bronx. Everything about him is South Bronx. So when I think I did where is he? I think he was.
RA said this live stream's not Bill Nye approved.
It is not. It is not. Hey, RA. I love RA. He's fascinating to me. He gives good voice. Oh my God, his voice is amazing. I need to excuse myself into an interior room anytime I hear him talk, but we're not gonna go there. He might hear us. Anyway, my husband This one time I was trying to get my husband, I was like, look, would you wear a hat? Would you wear the belt? Would you wear but I was recording him. And but he didn't know because the camera was on me. And he was like, yeah, he said he would think about it. So I was like, oh, okay. And since then, not so much.
Oh, see, this is where you just hook him up with the stuff so he doesn't have a choice. And then he just shows up and it's there.
Yeah, my husband is not a man to do things he does not want to do. I know it's shocking. I know it's shocking to you that I would have married somebody with a big personality. I do a lot of talking. He's very quiet, but he does nothing he does not want to do. Not one thing. Bless him.
Well, I guess it's really important to know he's from the South Bronx and not just the South. And so very different.
No, he's not from the South. I mean, his family's from the child. His mama's country is the Iroquois, and you have no idea. She's
Really?
super country. We said, we're like, when it was like COVID was around or whatever, we're like, did you get the shot? And she was like, girl, I got Medea. I was like, I'm sorry, what now? Yeah, they came over here. They just gave us all Medea. It's like the lady from the Tyler Perry movies. My sister-in-law was like, Ma, it's Moderna. Medea, Moderna, whatever. You knew what I was talking about. Go on out there and get that stuff for me. Come on, bring it in here, y'all. We got to pop these babies. Like, she's super country. Now I'm trash talking my mother-in-law. Oh, please, Beyonce, don't let none of them be watching this. I pray to the deities that are relevant to me because Jesus is busy. I'm just letting you know.
He got a lot going on.
There's wars, there's a fire in Maui. I'm not trying to distract, but I just want to talk to the people who might be able to get something done for me who are not otherwise occupied. Betty White, for example, she's used to a lot of fan mail. People love Betty, so when times get tough, we ask Betty for a blessing or a favor. Also, Sammy Davis Jr., Luther Vandross, in Blue Ivy's name, we pray to Beyonce. She's still on this side of glory, but she might be able to help us out. She know people. I'm just saying.
She does.
Dead ass serious. Dead ass serious. That's truth right there. It is.
It is truth.
I'm telling you. So next time you have a bad situation, now listen, sometimes you need actual Jesus. I'm just letting you know. If like you get charged with murder, actual Jesus. You want your sports team to win? Betty White. Or some sports person. I don't know nothing about no sports ball. So you could probably name some sports ball people that I never heard of. But if it's a dead sports ball dude, or even a living one, because they're very powerful. You just ask them for whatever you need and they can help you out. Leave Jesus alone. Just saying.
Hey, Candace, thank you for the membership gift. And Jenny in GA,
Yay.
Jenny in Georgia was gifted a membership by Candace. Welcome to the cult. Or welcome back. One of the two.
That's awesome. Looking good and green, girl. You're looking good.
RA said hashtag actual Jesus, not jailhouse Jesus. There is a difference between actual and jailhouse. So.
No, actual Jesus. Died on the cross, knows all your sins, all the things. Knows when you've been naughty or nice. I'm telling you, actual Jesus.
Comes down the chimney December. Yes.
Whatever. He got powers. I'm not saying what they are. Water to wine. That's better than that chimney thing. I'm just letting you know.
I'm not going to argue. I'm not going to argue at all. Dem's facts.
Yep. Hardcore.
Well, listen, I know eventually you have to go, but do you have anything else that you would like to add to anything that's been going on, either true crime or otherwise?
True crime or otherwise. Now, as soon as I get off here, I'll think of 25 things that I should have said. But I can't think of anything right now. Every morning, you can join us for a little gossip, rumor, and innuendo. I get up anywhere between 3 and 4 in the morning. Depends what time the girls say we need to get up. And I peruse my true crime selections. And then I have a little commentary every day on whatever the latest, hottest true crime news is. I give you my take. Now, listen. Please know, you do not come to gossip, rumor, and innuendo for facts. We are here to just talk about what we heard. And people in the comments are like, girl, you know what I heard? And I'm like, for real? And then I expound and I research and I also take suggestions. And then every day at lunchtime, we do lunchtime true crime, where I break down a recent or sometimes very old true crime story that I heard. Those are based in fact. not they fact adjacent. They're fact adjacent. They're not fully factual, but it's my interpretation of what happened. But that's every day at noon. And then randomly when I feel like getting online. But that's it. Oh, and bingo. Listen, Renee, I think Renee gave like a donation or whatever on here. Renee is she named herself the president of the Gossip Rumor and Innuendo fan club. And I was like, that seems right. Okay, you're the president. So now she's the president and she makes bingo cards. So you can sit back at lunchtime or whatever and just listen, but then get yourself a bingo card and play online. And if you get bingo, I will give you a prize. Something made by me. Don't know what it is. Well, I know what some of the prizes are because I have a stack of them. But maybe it's a crown. Maybe it's a nice little fluffy bunny that I made. Wait, there's the right side of the bunny. Actually, this one was a cat. Okay, whatever. I make stuff. If you need some hair, sisters, you got 4C? Our 4C sisters. Only the black people know what I'm talking about right now. It's coded language. Don't tell nobody. But the 4C sisters, I can get you some hair. We can hook you right on up. No problem whatsoever. And I answer questions.
Pantuflay says, GRI asked Black Jesus Darrow for all the favors.
Like, you want something? Listen. All the good black grandmamas had a black Jesus hanging in their living room. My grandmama had a black Jesus, and he looked exactly like Daryl Rudolph. Exactly. Daryl Rudolph might be the second coming. You heard it here first. Y'all better get your lives together.
I think if there was somebody who was the second coming, they would hang out with goats. Because goats are amazing. So.
Goats are fantastic. They're cute. They're nice with yoga. Also delicious curried. But you ain't heard that from me. No. Well, brown rice, because it's better for your health. But yeah, goats are great. The milk, the cheese, the entree at a Jamaican wedding. I'm just saying. Whatever. We like goats. Well, wait, I did have the list of questions that I would ask Jodi if
yes.
I could do the Jodi Arias questions. So here's my list. I made it this morning on the bus. Did your parents know you were going to talk this much about sex? Are you still speaking to your parents? Who pulled together your outfit? What look were you going for? Do you like your attorneys? Are you here just to shock people? How many other boyfriends have you stalked and or killed? Will you have any character witnesses? Can we see your shoes? How's the food in prison? Is this the butt stuff defense, which I changed to the Dirty Sanchez, but kind of not. Why didn't you take the camera with you? Did you have to go buy another new camera? Can I see your teeth? How did you get the idea about the dog door? And were you always this crazy? Now, not all of those would likely be answered by Miss Arias while she was there in the lovely courtroom, but some of them might. Those are the things I wanted to know.
My favorite question that they've asked a lot of great questions, but one of my favorites is, why did you put the camera in the washer?
I saw that last night. Yes, it doesn't make sense.
It's literally one of the things that really screwed her over, and rubbing her nose in that was awesome of the jury to do.
Yep. It's like it's not that. Plus, that's a perfectly good camera. That's waste. But you know how many green stamps? How many of those stupid prepaid legals she had to sell? Because you're not gonna make no money on prepaid legal. They tried to get my husband to sell that mess.
Well, and she wasn't any good at it either. So she spent all the time taking photographs.
It's not a good product. I'm just saying. No shade to prepaid legal, but yeah, I wonder, like, do people? I don't think it's still around, or it's called something else now. But when prepaid legal was out there, the brokest people you know who were trying the hardest to sell you something that you knew you could not use, that they could not afford, was like, you need prepaid legal. I was like, you need to sit down and get out of my face with this mess.
You need Jesus and or Betty White.
Right. But not real Jesus, because that's a mess. You needed like a B-list. Who's a B or C-list celebrity that's dead? That's who you needed to talk to. I'm just saying. Or maybe a living one.
I would feel bad calling a celebrity out who's passed away and calling them a B or C-list celebrity.
They know their place. They know their place. Out here we have the retired. There's like an old folks home for whatever. when they, when they go off, they quit getting hired or whatever, they put them all over in a nice old folks home right over here in Englewood, New Jersey. I'm just saying. Who is over there in Englewood?
Yeah, who is over there? You tell me.
I'm trying to think. I know who lives over there, but I'm not going to talk about no living people. You don't even know how many. When I saw real estate, it was only so I could be nosy. The number of houses that I went into, not to rob them or nothing. What's the statute of limitations on a B&E? But I was B&E with my. You had to like those little lock boxes. I'm like, whose house is this? Oh, I love his music. Let me go in here and see. Generally speaking, the first floor will be gorgeous. Second floor look like your college dorms because don't nobody go upstairs except for girls they throwing a hump into. But I'm just like, why your bed 2 mattresses on the floor? What? You got a big TV.
This ain't MTV's Cribs. What happened?
At all. At all. Ooh, there's one celebrity that lived behind me. Like literally his house was behind my house. And I was up in there. I was like, oh, how you doing? It's my dog over here. That's before we had a dog. And I lost my dog. So, name it way right on in. And
Is he still there now?
That's why I'm not using his name.
Yeah, I was going to say, if they're...
He's a hippity hop person. I wouldn't know who it was if my husband hadn't told me. He's like, that. I was like, oh. And Charlemagne the God, I used to stay up in the Target. I love Charlemagne the God, but you used to always see Charlemagne in Target.
I mean, Target is for the people. I don't know.
It's universal. Everybody, you find everybody in Target, especially on a Saturday morning in Bergen County. Mr. President, is that you?
Whether you got $0 or like $100 million, you're still going to go in and spend more than you meant to.
Absolutely. I did it just today. Them's the breaks, friends.
Oh, Kathy. Well, thank you for joining.
I love that I invited myself and that you said yes. It gave me such joy.
It was the best text ever. I was so happy to get it. I was like, yes, please.
I'm pushy. I'm nosy. I talk too much.
And we love you for it. All those things.
So
truly,
sweet.
This community absolutely adores you. And we can't wait to see what you do next.
I'm obsessed with you guys. And I'm most days during the week, I am over. I'm a live court watcher all during the day. 13th juror, I'm there in the comments. When I'm working, but I got my little invisible earphones in. I got Brandi in one ear and like people who want me to do actual work in the other. It's fine. It works out good. Haven't messed up anything yet.
As long as you don't promise somebody a whole husband, you'll be all right.
Child, most folks I know trying to get rid of their whole husbands, but whatever. I got a good one, so I'm not one of those, but I'm just saying.
Right. Well, listen. If Mrs. Brews Crime calls you, please let me know at least. Give me a heads up.
Some ladies need to keep them. You just tie them to the chair and make them stay right there. That's going to be you.
You guys don't understand. There are cuffs under the bottom of this chair. That's why I never leave. That's why I'm always here. Like, I can't get up.
You're a good egg, JT. I love it. I love it. I love it. Although I'm still trying to figure out your real name. I'm going to have to do a complete background check. I see.
I'm sure you have access.
You know I do. You
have enough to run it, I'm sure. Huh?
It's not a woman alive that's not half an FBI agent, honey. Not a woman alive.
That's fair. No arguments from me.
Just saying. But I have tons and tons and tons of meetings tomorrow. So I don't know what time Brandi is starting tomorrow. If she's starting at 8:30, I can be there. But if she's going to be starting a little later, like today, then today I was out in these streets getting work done. It was terrible. I mean,
red pandas.
That was just between me and you. When am I supposed to know about that?
That's right. I'm sorry.
Okay. It's just us and a couple of hundred of our closest friends. It'll be fine.
Right.
It'll be fine. All right,
well,
lovely
thank
people.
you.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm so happy. Now I'm going to go put on one of my vintage food t-shirts and lay in bed and watch you watch Jody and all of y'all until I fall asleep.
All right. Well, you have a good night, Kathy.
Good night. Mwah.
Mwah. See
How
ya.
the fuck do I turn this off?
Oh, she's one of my favorite people in this world. I love her so much. Oh, also, I'm sure I'm gonna get a message from Mrs. Bruce Crime going, "Why are you being so loud?" Sorry, y'all. Listen, we're gonna get to Jody in a second here. I wanted to update you on the car situation because you all heard about the issues that I had yesterday. Well, I had pulled out of my driveway and I was about 100 feet away and my car went seized up. Yay. So you all know, there was a tow truck involved and an auto shop, and thank goodness that the auto shop had a loaner, which you all no, it didn't break in half. The engine seized, which is no good. If that's all I know, it's no good. It's gonna be bad. But yeah. So my loaner, I want you all to be completely jealous. It's a 2002 Mercury Sable with 160,000 miles on it. Ba-ba-ba-ba-da-ba. So just jamming down the road. No offense to the Mercury Sable. Yeah, I know it's bad. I know. Believe me. There's gonna be a lot of conversations about, one way or another what the next step is. So we will find out. But yes, it's definitely listen, Kathy, it's definitely an old man car. That's for sure. I hope not. But maybe I should. This auto shop is really well recommended. I would like to think it's on the up and up, but it is a 2002 Mercury Sable, so it's possible. Yes, there is something about a Mercury where it drives like a tank. It's very slow to slow, and it's very slow to pick up. It's just slow, which is fun. But yes, Lynn, you're correct. I am so grateful. I am so grateful that they had a loaner because I would be SOL if not. I mean, Mrs. Bruce Crime and I would figure it out. We would ride share, but it would be a pain. So I'm very, very, very grateful. All right, let's go ahead and move right on into Jodi because I did it again, the Jodi Arias trial. So if we remember correctly, so far from my personality, that's why it's so funny. Oh my goodness gracious. So how long ago? I have no idea. I don't know cars. I know enough to change oil, but even then, apparently not. No, I changed the oil just fine. Something else was going on, and long story short, well, it just happened. Oh goodness gracious. Well, let's hop into this trial. They had just finished the jury questions last night on our surprise stream, and then Kirk got a chance to basically what's the word? Redirect from that, and now our favorite Juan is doing his doing damage now. 1964 Ford Galaxy that broke in half. What were you doing? Oh goodness gracious. Thank you, by the way. Thank you for the super chat. Lisa, it does not have a cassette tape deck. Actually, it has a CD player. Yep. So it's it's got a CD player. That's literally it. I would imagine that was the top of the line at the time. All right, everybody. Wow, that is way off. So was that? 1 second, we gotta fix it. All right. Are you going to add my screen to the stream or not? Let's do this again. Shall we? There we go. All right, here we go.
I don't know. It was after, but I don't know about years.
And again, it was to your benefit because you're saying that you're a victim of domestic violence to bring this up, right?
I'm not saying it's to my benefit or detriment. It was asked of me.
And you just went along and you did what you were told. Is that what you're saying?
Objection, argumentative, both for speculation.
I just answered questions.
And so you're telling me that, yes, you did what you were told, kind of like with the interview with First Edition or whatever it was. Inside Edition.
Objection, argumentative.
Sustained.
So you're saying that just to be clear, are you saying that you would or would not have brought it up?
It really depends on the time frame because I didn't want to ever bring it up. And then.
Well, ma'am, we're talking about right now.
Oh, I couldn't say, honestly. I really couldn't say.
You couldn't say?
No.
It's not a memory issue, you just can't say, right?
It's not really a preference or not a preference that I've explored or thought about in my mind. I'm just answering questions.
But immediately after it happened in January of 2008, you didn't tell anybody, right?
Definitely not.
And you were arrested
Thank you.
on July 15th of 2008, and you didn't tell the detective, right?
No.
You had another conversation with the detective on July 16th of 2008, and you didn't tell him anything either, right, about this thing, right?
That's correct.
Whatever happened after that, you then say that you told somebody else, right? You then stated as part of a question for the jury that you did tell somebody else, right?
Yes, but not in that order.
I understand that. You remember the jury asking you a question about it, and you kind of looked over at them and you said, yes, I did tell somebody else. Do you remember telling them that?
Yes.
When was this that you told somebody else?
April 2008.
What was that again?
April 2008.
And who was it that you told in April of 2008 about this?
Matt McCartney.
So again, it's Mr. McCartney that you told, besides Mr. McCartney.
Oh, the doctor?
No, we were talking, let's do it this way. Do you remember we were talking about July 15th of 2008 and your arrest?
Do you mean July 21st?
You think you were arrested on July 21st of
I'm sorry, I was thinking you said January. July 15th, yes.
Let's go back to the date of your arrest. You were arrested on July 15th of 2008, weren't you?
Yes.
And you had a conversation with the detective on that date, right?
Yes.
You were also had another conversation with the detective on July 16th of 2008, right?
Yes.
And you didn't tell him anything about this, right?
That's correct.
You did say, though, when you were asked a question by the jurors about this, that after that, you did tell a psychologist about it. Do you remember answering that question to the jurors?
Yes.
When did you tell the psychologist about this issue involving the pedophilia?
I think it was July 2009, I believe.
And
I'm not sure of the month, but it was 2009.
you think it was July 2009?
I'm not entirely sure of the month.
That you told to this to?
Objection, argumentative.
You may. You may proceed.
So what was the date that you told this other individual for the first time about these allegations of pedophilia against Mr. Alexander?
It wasn't the first time that I told somebody, but the individual you're referring to it was somewhere in 2009. I don't remember the exact month.
It's difficult for you to know which individual I'm referring to. Wouldn't you agree, ma'am?
I know which guy, I just can't remember his name. He's a doctor out of San Diego.
Okay. But the person before that you told, according to you, is Matthew McCartney, right?
That's correct.
One of the things that we know, ma'am, is that you told us that, well,
All right.
you decided to take this trip, that you contacted Mr. Brewer because you wanted to get some gas cans for him, right?
Yes,
It's been established that there were 2 gas cans, each with the capacity of 5 gallons or a little bit over, right?
that's my understanding.
Well, you were there, right?
Yes,
And you filled them up in Pasadena, didn't you?
It mischaracterizes her testimony.
I'm sorry. 3 people talking at once. What is your objection?
Objection, it mischaracterizes her testimony. She said, never said 5 gallons or more.
Overruled. You may proceed.
Okay? You were the one that filled these cans up with gasoline in Pasadena, according to you, right?
I put gas in them. I don't know that I filled them to the brim because I was worried about their flammability.
You were the one, though, that put the gasoline into these 2 gas cans, correct?
Correct.
And you were the one that paid for them, right?
Yes,
And ma'am, you were the one that also put gas in your car, right?
yes.
In response to a question from the jury, this issue was brought up as to what happened first, or whether or not there were 3 cans. Do you remember 3 gas cans? Do you remember that line of questioning?
Not the sequence, but the matter of 3 gas cans.
Do you remember that this issue was brought up about whether or not you filled up your car up with gas first, or put the gas into the gas cans first? Do you remember even testifying about that
I remember
this morning?
testifying about that.
Hold on, this morning. Do you remember testifying about that?
Yes,
And you indicated that, well, previously
Yes.
to that you didn't know which one had happened first, whether or not you'd put the gas into the car first, or whether you'd put the gas into the cans first. Do you remember saying that you didn't know that, right?
are you talking about on cross?
I'm talking about throughout these whole proceedings, ma'am.
I remember on cross. I couldn't remember because the way you were questioning me.
Well, ma'am, I'm not asking you about whether or not you remember anything on cross. I'm asking you whether or not previous to that, you told us that you couldn't remember if you put the gasoline into the car first or into the cans first.
Yes, I do remember that.
Okay? But yet, when the jurors asked you the question, do you remember that you said, oh, I put the gas into the car first, and then I must have tripped or turned off the meter, if you will, and that's why there's these separate transactions. Do you remember telling us that?
That was my only logic and understanding. And I
Well, I'm not
understand
asking you about your logic and understanding. Isn't that what you told the jury just previously today?
I did say that, but not in response to the question you're referring to.
Ma'am, whether it's in response to the question I'm posing to you or not, isn't it true that that's what you told people, the jurors here?
Yes,
So my question to you then, ma'am, isn't it true then that you do remember the sequence of events involving the filling up the car with gas in Pasadena?
Objection, mischaracterizes her testimony as to what she was filling up.
Overruled.
the only part I remember as far as sequence is I put the gas in the gas cans, and then so I didn't leave the hose laying on the floor or the ground or the concrete, I hung it up. That ends the transaction. That's all I know.
So you're saying now you're back to the issue of telling us that you don't remember whether or not you put gas in the car first or in the gas cans first, right? That's what you're saying.
I really don't know the exact sequence. I wouldn't bet all my money on what it was. I can only go by receipts and times to help me remember. But that's
So that's what you're saying, though, but you don't remember now. That's what you're telling us, right?
from memory, no.
That's what I'm asking you from. What is your memory of that event, right? Right? That's what I'm asking you, right?
Okay.
And with regard to that time, nobody was yelling at you at that time, right?
That's correct.
Nobody was grilling you, right?
That's correct.
You've been fond of telling us how great of a memory you have and no one is yelling at you, right?
Yes.
But that's something that you just don't remember, right?
Not in great detail. That's right.
But you did tell us that you do have a very good memory for detail previously, though, right?
Usually, yes.
Ma'am, the other thing that you told us with regard to these gas cans is that you purchased one in Salinas, California, right?
Yes.
5-gallon gas can, right?
Yes.
And you purchased this gas can in Salinas, and you said after a short period of time, you didn't say a period of time, but you said that you returned it back to the store in the Walmart in Salinas, right?
That's correct.
And it's the same store that you brought it from, right?
Yes.
Because it was probably because it was in the same general vicinity, right?
Right.
And ma'am, one of the other things that you said was that the reason that you did this was because it was expensive and it didn't seem to make sense to you to get that gas can, right?
Yeah, in hindsight, I realized it didn't make sense.
All right. So why is it then? Why is it then, ma'am, that you showed up with 3 gas cans in Salt Lake City?
Objection is characteristic of testimony.
Overruled.
Not so the questions as well.
Approach, please. See.
So why is it that you had 3 gas cans in Salt Lake City, ma'am?
I don't even recall going to Salt Lake City. I went to West Jordan. And I went
Hold on. First, let's break that down. You're saying you don't ever even remember going to Salt Lake City, ever, on June 6th of 2008.
I don't recall where the city limits end and begin. But to answer the gas can question, I went to Mesa with 2 gas cans.
Well, you did go to Salt Lake City, right?
I was in the vicinity. I went to Sandy, I think, and West Jordan.
You did visit an individual by the name of Brian Burns, right?
That's correct.
And during that time, before you left Salt Lake City, you left Salt Lake City area in the very early morning hours, right?
Yes,
You filled up with gas, right?
I think I did. I don't know.
Well, let's look. Let's start looking at this. And in fact, ma'am, we'll take a look at Exhibit 237.017. You see SLC?
Yes.
You don't have any doubt that that stands for Salt Lake City, Utah, does it?
No, I don't doubt that.
And that's Tesoro, right? That's
Yes.
a gas station, right?
Yes.
And you put some gasoline there, right?
Yes.
We look down here, it does have your name on there, right?
Yes.
Then if we look at Exhibit 237.016, there's Salt Lake City, right?
Yes.
And does you see your name right there?
Yes.
He's got
So
receipts.
you were in Salt Lake City, first of all, to
Really?
establish that, right?
Okay, yes.
And you were there in the early morning hours, right?
I left Ryan's house in the early morning hours, so.
Well, that's so we can just make sure that we have the time, 237.016. See the time there?
Oh,
Yes.
we will
What
be calling
time
him
does it
Daenerys
indicate
because he
that
will
you're
have
putting
given
gas in the
birth
car,
to
right?
dragons.
Yes, 3:57.
Right? And it does tell us here that you went to pump number 2, right?
Yes.
Put in 10.672 gallons, right?
Yes.
And the price for each one was $3.85 per gallon, right?
Yes.
And it was $41.18, right?
Yes.
Then at Exhibit 237.017, same gas station, you see that?
Yes.
You see the date and the approval time?
Yes.
It's 4:05 in the morning, correct?
Correct.
And on this one, it's 36.98, right?
We chose another trial.
Yes.
It's
And
Joel
it
Guy
talks about
Jr.
that you're at pump 2 again, and it's 9.583 gallons, right?
That's correct.
You actually put in more gas though, didn't you?
I don't know.
Well, then let's take a look at, you had a bank account with Washington Mutual, didn't you?
Yes, I did.
And in fact, we have some receipts here that talk about you having an account with Washington Mutual. And in fact, you had 2 of them, right?
Yes, a business and a personal.
237.005. You see that?
Yes.
There's an account, there's a deposit, that's your account, right?
I'm going to object this beyond the scope of the questions.
Overruled.
Right?
That's my account.
And then you also had another account,
Rule.
237.006, and we've talked about this exhibit, right, before?
Yeah, I think so.
Washington Mutual account, right?
Yes.
And there are records that Washington Mutual keeps, don't they?
Yes.
You aware of that?
Yes.
And there are statements that they send out to you, don't they?
I think I got them online usually.
But there are statements that are prepared, whether they are
Yes.
online or they're sent out, right?
That's correct.
Go ahead and take a look at an exhibit. Take a look at exhibit number 523, and after you've looked at it, see if that refreshes your, or whether or not you recognize that as your statement from Washington Mutual.
Yes, it does look like that.
And what's the time period, ma'am? Should say on the upper right-hand corner.
It says June 1st through June 30th.
All right. I may have it back. Move for the admission of exhibit 523.
We're going to object, Your Honor. May we approach?
You may.
Take a look at exhibit
My
523.
hand.
That's your parents' home, correct?
No, that's my grandparents' home.
That's your grandparents' home, and that's where you were living, right?
Yes.
On page 2, there are 3 transactions that I want to focus into Tesoro. And Tesoro is the on 237.016. That's the merchant. You see that?
Yes.
237.017. That's also Tesoro. Do you see that?
237, what did you say? Where?
Tesoro. Do you see that at the very top?
Oh, yeah, yes. I'm sorry.
Okay. And so when we're talking about this exhibit, do you see 3 transactions to Tesoro in Salt Lake City, Utah, correct?
Yes, I do.
You were in Salt Lake City, Utah on June 6th of 2008, weren't you?
Yes.
You just told me that you were leaving there in the morning, that area, to come back to Wairika, right?
That's correct.
You told us previously that you were going to come back so that you could go back to work, right?
Thanks, it's
Yes.
just me for the membership.
And if you
and
take
the
a look
Twitter,
at
you look good in
This
green.
purchase here from Tesoro, you see the amount there?
Yes.
How much is that, ma'am?
$36.98.
Okay. Let's take a look at exhibit number 237.017. How much is the amount?
$36.98.
It's the same station, it's same amount, correct?
Correct.
That's the same purchase, right?
Yes.
And exhibit number 237.016, it's for how much, ma'am?
$41.18.
And if we go down here, you see that right there?
Yes.
How much is that?
$41.18.
That's the same amount, right?
Correct.
And then you do have, though, a third transaction there. Do you see that?
Yes.
1965, right?
Yes.
Ma'am, if we go back to exhibit number 237.017, how much was the price per gallon that you bought that day?
It looks like $3.85.
And 9/10, right?
Yes.
Ma'am, if you take this amount per gallon, 3.859, $3.859 per gallon, and you divide it into this amount of 1965, do you know how much, what that division would indicate?
No.
Would it surprise you that it would indicate that it's 5.09? Would that surprise you?
No.
So, you make 3 purchases here, don't you?
Yes.
You also, there are 2 purchases for sure that we know that are for gas, right?
That's correct.
The other one is for 1965, right?
Yes.
If we do the mathematics, that equals 5 gallons of gas. If you were putting gas.
Objection, argumentative is there's no testimony that it was gas purchased.
Overruled.
What was your question?
The question is a mathematical one, ma'am. Isn't it true that if you divide 1965 by 3.859, that you would get 5.09?
If the math is correct, then yes.
And you did indicate to us that you did buy a 3rd can in Salinas, didn't you?
Yes, I did.
And you bought that in Salinas, and it was a 5-gallon gas can, right?
That's correct.
Ma'am, would it surprise you that the Walmart in Salinas does not have any record of any refund Back on June 2nd, when you claim you bought this, or June 3rd, when you claim you bought this,
Objection,
of a
argument
refund.
beyond the scope.
Approach, please. May continue.
Now, exhibit number 237.008, Walmart receipt. You see this, correct?
Yes,
This is the Walmart that you went to in Salinas and you purchased a 5-gallon gas can, right? You told us that before, right?
yes, I did.
And you were there on June 3rd of 2008 at 3:22 in the afternoon when you made that purchase, right?
That's correct.
Would it surprise you to find that on that, and you said that you got a refund in cash, didn't you?
Yes, I did.
Would it surprise you that Walmart does not have any record of any refund for a gas can on that date of June 3rd of 2008?
Considering that I returned it, that would surprise me.
Pardon?
Considering that I returned it, that would surprise me.
It would surprise you
Yes,
because you claim you returned it on that day, right?
yes, I did, and I received cash for it.
Pardon?
And I received
And
cash
you
back for
received
it.
cash, okay. You also told us that you received an injury to your right finger at Casa Ramos. Do you remember that?
Objection, beyond the scope of questions.
Approach, please. May continue.
Do you remember in response to a question from the jurors that you said that you damaged your right finger during a glass-breaking incident at Casa Ramos? Do you remember telling us that?
It was not glass breaking, I jammed it on a metal ledge.
All right.
At
So at
Casa Ramos.
Casa Ramos, you injured your finger, right?
Yes,
And do you remember that you told us, well, no paperwork was filled out, right?
that's correct.
And you told us that no paperwork was filled out was because this was a really small business, right?
I said it was did I say small business? It's private business, yeah.
Well, no, most businesses are private. Are you saying now that you meant to say it was a private business? Is that what you're saying?
No, it was a small business. There were only like maybe 4 or 5 restaurants.
So you think that 4 or 5 restaurants are a small business, right?
Usually I work for chains that have thousands of restaurants, so that's a very small
Walmart's
business.
doing
So
just
to you,
fine.
this is a small business because you believe that there are only 4 locations, right?
There may have even been less than, I don't know. I think there were very few in the Northern California area.
And just because they're a small business, they do not have to comply with reporting accidents on the job, is what you're telling us, right?
Objection calls for speculation. Relevancy.
Sustained to that question.
Ma'am, actually, don't they actually have, back then, didn't they actually have 13 restaurants?
Objection calls for speculation. Ask and answer.
Overruled.
Not that particular franchise, they only had a few. I know that, my understanding is that
I'll
it's
send
a
it to
family
you.
of 2 brothers or cousins, they're related somehow, and that they own a chain of a different type of restaurant in Oregon. And then the restaurants I worked for, there was just a few of them.
So you're saying that there may be 2 restaurants then that are called Casa Ramos, right?
No, not 2. There were more than 2, but there weren't very many.
No, what you're saying is that you're drawing now a distinction between the ownership of the Casa Ramos restaurants, one being owned by one member of the family and one being owned by another member of the family, right?
Objection, relevance, argument, way beyond the scope of any of the questions.
Overruled.
The other restaurants are called Azteca, so yeah, they're completely different.
All right, so when we talk about Casa Ramos, we're actually just talking about on the marquee Casa Ramos, and your belief is there's only approximately 4 of those, right?
I only knew of 4 or 5.
And because of their size, you told us, in response to a jury question, that even though you suffered this injury, well, you did tell the manager about the injury, didn't you?
I had to get a Band-Aid, yes.
Well, you did tell the manager about the injury, didn't you tell us that?
Yes,
And you did take a picture of that injury, right?
yes,
And we've seen that picture of that injury, right?
yes,
And you're saying that because of the type of business that it was, no claim had to be filed pursuant to the laws of the state of California, right?
that's not what I'm saying. I said that was my speculation as to why nothing was ever filled out.
You didn't fill anything out, right?
No, I didn't.
The manager didn't fill anything out, even though you told him about it, right?
Objection calls for speculation.
Sustained.
You did talk to the manager about it, correct?
Not in great depth. I asked him for a
I'm not
Band-Aid.
asking you in great depth. Yes or no, did you talk to the manager?
I asked him for a Band-Aid.
So are you now saying that you didn't tell the manager that you hurt yourself on the job? Is that what you're now telling us?
I'm not sure what was said. I just know I needed a Band-Aid quick because it was busy and I was about to bleed a lot.
So it appears from what you're telling us now is that you never indicated to him that you were injured on the job then, as you previously told us.
Well, asking for a Band-Aid is an indication that I'm injured.
Pardon?
Asking for a Band-Aid to me is an indication that I'm injured.
No, but what I'm saying is specifically, previously on your examination, you indicated that you did talk to the
Check,
manager
please.
about your injury. Do you remember telling us that?
Yes.
And during that conversation, you said that he knew that you had injured yourself at work. Do you remember telling us that?
I don't know what he knew. I just know that he knew I asked him for a Band-Aid.
So now you never told them about you being injured on the job. You just asked for a Band-Aid then, right?
Yes, and I was holding my hand, putting pressure on it.
And you were holding your hand, putting pressure on it, and you're saying he didn't ask you anything about how you injured your hand at all, right?
Objection calls for hearsay.
Overruled.
I only
No.
remember that we were very busy in the middle of the rush and we didn't have time to sit and discuss my hand.
I'm not asking you if you were busy. I'm asking you whether or
Nice.
isn't it true that he did not ask you, according to your statement, anything about how you'd suffered that injury?
That according to my statement, what you're saying is not true, or it might be true, but I don't remember what was discussed regarding the injury. All I know is I hurt my hand, the skin folded back, I flipped it over, put pressure on it, and said I went and found my manager, said I need a Band-Aid right away. There were tons of tickets coming through, I had a bazillion margaritas to make, and it was busy, and I needed a Band-Aid. That's all I know.
So you did not cut yourself on a margarita glass though, right?
No, I
So
didn't cut
she
myself on glass, it was a jam from
Right.
metal.
No, previously, do you remember telling us in response to a jury question that you had cut yourself on a margarita glass?
This is her testimony.
Overruled. You may answer.
I didn't say margarita glass in reference to Casa Ramos. I cut my hand on a glass at Travis's house.
I'm talking about Casa Ramos. I'm not
She
talking
injured
about Mr.
herself. She was
Alexander's
bleeding a
house.
lot.
I'm
She
talking
used a
about Casa
Band-Aid and-
Ramos. You're
and she made a
saying that
margarita
you injured
for
your
a
finger,
customer.
your right ring finger, on something other than glass, correct?
Yes,
And you didn't tell the manager about the way this occurred, even though it occurred while on the job, right?
I don't recall if it was discussed in detail or not.
And you're the same person that
Very
previously
different.
testified today that you have a very good memory for details, right?
Yes,
Except for that, you don't remember
One's
that
a
one,
number.
right?
I
The
didn't
other
say it was
one's
perfect.
stripped.
I said it was good.
No, I'm not saying that you said it was perfect.
That was a bad
You
joke.
yourself admitted that you had a good memory for
regret
details,
saying
right?
Overruled.
I don't even know that I used details. I just said I think I have a good memory.
Excuse me, did the court receive the motions to compel that we filed
Not.
on?
Back with the green.
I did not. They may not have made it to the computer system yet. Do you have hard copies?
I do not. They both were shown as accepted, so.
I have a copy, Judge, if you want to look at my copy.
Yes, please. Punch approach.
Juan said, I have a copy.
Thank you. Please be seated. Ms. Arias, please take the stand.
Please don't.
Please be seated. The record will show the presence of the jury, the defendant, and all counsel. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Did any of you see anything about this case on the media, including the internet, television, radio, newspaper? I see no hands. Mr. Martinez, you may continue with follow-up.
Now, one of the things you did for the jurors was describe the shooting. Do you remember answering a question for the jurors involving that?
Yes,
And what you actually said was that it actually started when you were taking photographs of Mr. Alexander in the shower, correct?
the shooting, no, the whole incident that precipitated it, yes.
So yes, this did start with you taking photographs in the shower, correct?
Yes,
And you were taking photographs of him in the shower, and according to you, there came a point where you sort of fumbled the camera and you took a photograph of his rear or posterior, correct?
That's a whole.
I don't remember the order the photos were taken in.
That is.
Pardon?
I don't know the order that the photos were taken in.
Well, do you remember telling us that, that exhibit number 160 This photograph here, take a look at it.
This is not how this works, sir. I don't understand the point of that.
Which is the last of the sequence at 5:30:30. Do you remember telling us that that was the
She's locked
photograph
up
that you took
for
when the
life.
camera was being fumbled? Do you remember telling us, not us, telling me that on cross-examination?
No, I don't. I remember saying that it was inadvertent.
And also, this is an inadvertent photograph then.
Yes, that was not intentionally taken.
It was not intentionally taken, right?
That's correct.
And this was when you were fumbling the camera, correct?
I don't know if that was taken when I was fumbling it or not.
So, but you took this photograph, but it was inadvertent in the sense that you didn't mean to press the button to capture this image, correct?
Correct.
And after that, ma'am, he continued to be in the shower because the camera didn't actually fall down to the floor, right?
You are a
I don't know when that photo was taken. It was just taken during the sequence of the events.
Well, you do remember that. You told us that this was an inadvertent photograph, right?
Yes.
And then if we take a look at the next one of the ones that were seized that you deleted, which is Exhibit 161.
Objection, you know, so questions.
Approach, please. May continue.
This is another inadvertent photograph, correct?
That's correct.
And that's at 5:31:14, correct?
Yes.
And so if the math is correct, the difference between the one where he seated and this one is 44 seconds, right?
I didn't see the time on the other one.
Let's go ahead and take a look at it then. It's 5:30:30, correct?
Correct.
So it's 44 seconds difference, correct?
Yeah, what was the other time? Sorry.
Sure. 5:31:14 and 5:30:30.
Okay, yes.
It is 44 seconds, correct?
Yes.
And this exhibit 161 is when the camera, according to you, actually hit the ground, right?
I don't know if it's hitting the ground as that photo was taken or not.
So you don't know how this photograph was taken then, right?
It could have been when I was trying to catch it. I don't know.
At some point, the camera hits the ground, right?
Yes.
That's what you told the jury, right?
It hits the mat, yes, and rolls to the top.
Ma'am, yes or no? Didn't you tell the jury that the camera hit the ground near the shower? Yes or
No. I said it landed on the mat.
Is that near the shower?
Yes.
Is the mat on the floor near the shower?
Yes.
And the camera hitting the mat, would that be near the shower?
Yes.
So you did tell us then that the camera went down, hit the mat, or went down near the shower, didn't it?
It was
Yes.
so hot.
And then it rolled, right?
Yes.
You just can't tell us if this is the photograph that was taken then, though, right?
I don't know exactly.
Sustained.
And you then said that Mr. Alexander became very upset, right?
Yes.
I'm typically looking at
And
the chat when that happens.
that's what started this whole thing out
and we
because
look back and forth.
sort of stepped out of the
Make sure that it's
shower
on.
and then came after you,
I
right?
try to be,
He picked me up,
try to do the same thing.
That's
I look at
coming
different
after you,
screens.
isn't it?
I guess. I think when I think of coming after, I think of chasing, but he was already right
Well-
next to me.
So he didn't come after you then, all right? So at that point, you weren't afraid because he wasn't coming after you then, right?
I was afraid because he picked me up and body
Yeah,
slammed me.
Were you not afraid because he wasn't coming after you? You said he wasn't coming after you, right?
Objection, no.
Be
Still a
quiet.
negative compound question.
Overruled.
He wasn't chasing me yet. We were right next to each other.
So he wasn't coming after you, correct? That's what you just said, right?
I don't really know what you mean by coming after.
Ma'am, I asked you the question. Do you remember me asking you the question and you saying, no, he wasn't coming after me at that time? Do you remember that you just said that not more than a minute or so ago?
No, a moment ago I said I think of coming after as chasing.
So he's in the shower and he's making movements towards you. Would that be fair?
Yes.
And according to you, those movements culminated or continued when he grabbed you and put you down on the ground, right?
Yes.
And as a result of that, you said that you bumped your head or hit your head, right?
Yes.
And that maybe it knocked the wind out of you, right?
Yes.
And that you were in fear at that point, right?
Yes, very much.
And that you were able to fight him off so that you could get away, right?
I rolled.
Okay, so you rolled so that you were able to get away, correct?
Yes.
He wasn't, for whatever reason, either strong enough or didn't have a good enough hold on you so that you could get away, right?
He let me go when he body slammed me.
Okay, so then you went down on the ground and he's standing over you, right? With it next to your shins, right?
Somewhere in that area, yes.
And then you roll away and you begin to run down the hallway, right?
Yes.
One of the things that you also indicated with regard to one of the juror questions was that it was possible that the camera was picked up by Mr. Alexander and then deposited or placed at the end of the hallway. Do you remember answering that?
Yes, I remember saying it was possible.
You did say that, yes or no?
Yes.
And if that's true then, that's what you really believe, then that would mean that after he body slammed you and you took off, he started looking at the camera, right?
If that was what I believed, but I didn't
Right.
say that's what I believed.
And
Well, you said it was possible before, didn't you?
Because somebody asked if it was possible.
You did say it, yes or no?
Yes.
And so if it's possible, you said it, if it's possible that he picked up the camera, then that would require him to bend down because it was on the ground, right?
Yes.
Pick it up, right?
Yes.
Look at it or do whatever he was going to do with it, right?
I don't know what he would do when he picked it up.
Right, but we talked about the possibility and you
Amber
agreed that it was
definitely was
possible,
sure.
right?
Certainly possible.
If
I'd
he's
call
doing
Amber.
that and he's looking at the camera and you're down the hallway, he's not very close to you, is he?
Not at that, if that's even what happened, but I don't know. How to even answer that.
Right?
I don't know.
Well, no, you said that it was possible. Do you remember saying it was possible?
Yes.
And if that's possible, then you're down the hallway and it's also possible that he's not very close to you then, right? If we're using the word possible, right?
Either scenario is possible. He could be close or not.
Oh, so he was so close that you could turn around and see him even though he turned to look at the camera?
I don't know. I guess I could have turned around, but I wasn't thinking of turning around. I was thinking of getting away.
You didn't turn around, right?
Not when I was running down the hall.
Right. You didn't see him, did you?
No.
And the fact that he may have turned to go to the camera adds time to this sequence of events, doesn't it?
Objection calls for speculation.
Well, I don't know that he did that, so I don't know how to answer that.
I understand that you don't know that he did that, but you said it was possible. Do you remember saying that it was possible in response to one of the questions?
Objection, ask and answer.
Sustained.
Well, if it's possible that he did that, that indicates that there's a measure of time involved for Mr. Alexander to look down it, right?
Objection, argumentative.
Overruled.
I guess.
When you say you guess, that means what? What does that mean?
It means
Yes or no?
all possibilities are a guess because I didn't look back, so I don't know what's going on.
All I
And
want you to do
if
is
he
sit
then
down
took
and
it and placed it down in the end of the hallway, one of the things that you didn't tell us was that you heard a bump or anything like that. You didn't hear anything dropping, did you?
Breaking
After
up
the
her
camera,
timeline.
Overruled.
after the
Can't
camera dropped, I don't recall hearing another drop.
Right. So if he would have dropped it at the end of the hallway, you can't sit here and tell us that you heard anything, right?
That's right. After that,
And then you went into the closet, right?
correct.
According to you, that's where you went and obtained the gun, right?
Yes.
You went up on the shelving and you got the gun, right?
Yes.
Then you went out the door and into the bathroom again, right?
Yes.
When you went into the bathroom, you were able to turn around, if you will, and now you had the gun in your hands, right? That's what you told us, right?
Yes.
And that's when he was coming at you in this linebacker pose, right?
Around that time, yes.
And that's when you shot him in the face, right?
Yeah, that's when the gun went off.
No, you keep saying the gun went off. The gun was in your hand, right?
Yes.
In hands.
Girl.
Actually, the way you demonstrated was in both hands, right?
Right.
And you were pointing it at him, right?
Yes, I did point it at him.
And there was a metal thing or a bullet that came out of it, and it hit him in the head, right?
Yes.
So then, according to you, he fell on top of you, right?
It was kind of on top, but maybe more to the right. I don't know. It wasn't directly on top of me. I was trying to prevent him from getting on top of me.
And he did get on top of you at that point, and you were in fear for your life, right?
Absolutely.
And he was, according to you, and he was saying things to you, right?
Yes.
And one of the other things that you told us in response to a juror question was that when you are stressed out and people are yelling at you, you're like a computer that freezes, right?
Typically, yes.
And this computer that freezes, you said, I can't, people may be talking, but I can't remember or know what they're saying, right?
That's correct.
And so in this case, that's what happened. You, according to you, you were in fear for your life, weren't you?
Yes, I was.
So that would mean that things were going on in your head and you were stressed out in your head, right?
It was a very high stressful situation.
So the answer is yes, right?
Yes, I'd say that.
And however, at this particular point, when you're down there and you're trying to get away and you're in this stressful situation, for whatever reason, this is one of the times that your computer doesn't freeze up, right?
Well, I don't remember everything he was screaming. I only remember pieces. So
Yes
I don't
or
know.
no?
I don't know that it was completely frozen. I remember a few phrases.
Well, you used that analogy when you were answering questions for the jurors, didn't you?
Yes.
You said that your computer froze and you don't remember what people say, right?
Yes, that's the best analogy I can think of.
Right, and that's what you said, right?
Correct.
And so in this particular case, though, even though your computer is frozen, you do remember what he said, right?
Not everything, just a few phrases.
Sure, the real operative phrase, fucking kill you, bitch. You remember that one, right?
Absolutely, the threat on my life, I remember
Right.
that.
That's so even though your computer may have frozen us to everything else, that's the one thing you
Thanks
do
for the
remember,
membership.
right?
I recall that
Ziggy
specifically.
Oliver, welcome.
And then
You look
you
good.
got up and then the fog started to come in,
Green.
right?
I'd say the fog started to come in after the gunshot. After I got up and he threatened my life, I have no clear memories after that.
And that's when the memory issue started, correct? Right?
I'd say that.
Actually, man, the way you describe that, it's impossible for the killing to have happened in that manner, isn't it?
Objection argumentative.
No, that's just according to you.
Isn't it?
No, it's not impossible.
Well, man, we know that there's some action that is going on at 5:31:14, right? Something's going on, right?
Yes.
We also know that Exhibit 162 is 5:32:16, which is a minute and 2 seconds later, correct?
Correct.
You didn't have the camera with you when you shot him, right?
I did not.
So this needed to have happened before you shot him, right?
That's correct.
So we're talking about a minute and 2 seconds between this and this right here, 162, Exhibit 162, right?
Yes.
Ma'am, do you remember a cross-examination that I asked you about the
Thanks,
knife?
Virginia, for another
The
membership.
knife that you said had been
Brooke.
used to cut the
Welcome
rope.
back.
Do you remember me asking you about that in
Looking good in
cross-examination?
green.
Yes.
And do you remember that you told me, well, it was used initially to cut the rope? You told us that, right?
Yes.
And then after it was on your wrist, it was used to cut the rope off your wrist. Do you remember telling us that?
No, I remember you saying that.
Pardon?
I remember you saying that, but that's not what I said.
So you're saying that the last time you saw the knife was when it was used to cut the rope, right?
That's correct.
And do you remember that during that same cross-examination, ma'am? I asked you, well, did the knife go in the bedroom? And you said, I don't know. Do you remember telling me that?
Yes.
I asked you if it went into the closet. And you said you didn't know, right?
That's right.
You said you didn't know where that knife had gone, right?
I said that I didn't remember where it ended up.
Right, which means you don't know where it was, right? After the first cutting, you don't know where it was, right? That's what you said.
Yeah, I can't remember where it was placed after we cut the rope.
Right, which is the point. You don't remember where the knife was after it was used to cut the rope, right?
Yes.
And if that's the case, that you don't remember where the knife was, after the shooting, as you're standing there, and the fog or your memory comes in or the memory starts to create a problem when you're doing there, the fog doesn't help you remember things, does it? It's not a good thing for your memory, is it?
Well, the way you described it isn't accurate.
Well, I'm asking you whether or not this fog that you described for us, whether or not this fog enhances your ability or improves your ability to remember. Yes or no?
I don't understand how memory works in the brain. I just know.
No, I'm not
it's-
asking you to talk to me about the physiology of the brain. I'm asking about you. And I'm asking you to tell me whether or not this fog that you've been telling us about increases your ability to remember, even though you're going into this fog.
I would not say that it increases, but I don't know. I don't remember.
How about this lack of memory? Does the lack of memory increase your ability to remember things you didn't remember before?
I don't know.
You don't know? Well, you're the one that has been telling us about these instances where Mr. Alexander would come at you, according to you, and then that would and abuse you, and that would create memory issues for you. Do you remember telling us that?
Thanks, Virginia. Candy,
On some
welcome to the
instances.
call.
Sure, you're the only one that knows about this memory stuff, right? Because according to you, it happened to you, right?
I don't think I'm the only one that knows.
Well, I'm not asking if you're the only one that knows. I'm asking you whether or not you are the one that has the best knowledge
Like a kid playing
about what
Monopoly
happens
with
to
his
you
grandma.
when this fog rolls in.
He's losing and doesn't even know it.
Overruled, you may answer.
I don't really have an understanding of what happens. I just know, I can only describe it the best that I can.
And in describing it, ma'am, to use your word, when the fog rolls in, it does not improve your memory, does it?
I don't know. I wouldn't say it does.
Well, in this case, ma'am, so you've now shot him. You've told us that the fog is rolling in and that you have no memory.
Fog is rolling
You
in.
still don't know where the knife is, do you?
Throw him out.
Objection.
I don't know.
Argumentative.
Overruled.
I don't remember a lot from that period. It could be.
Right, but you told us before that period even that you didn't know where the knife was. Do you remember just telling me that?
Today, as I sit here, I don't remember where the knife was. On June 4th, I might have remembered where it
Ma'am,
was.
do you remember a cross-examination that I asked you if you knew where the knife was on June 4th? And you said, no, I don't remember where the knife was because I didn't pay attention to what he was doing with it. Do you remember telling us that on cross-examination?
I didn't use those words. I just said that he cut the rope, and I don't remember where he put it when he was done cutting it.
Those aren't the exact words, but that was the understanding that you remembered about him cutting the knife, but you didn't remember where he had put the knife back then. That's what you told us on cross-examination. Do you remember that? Because the prosecutor was trying to ascertain from you where the knife had gone, right?
Those two questions.
Which one do you want to answer? Answer them both.
I'll answer the first one. I don't remember saying that. I remember speculating that it could have gone to the nightstand or it could have been left in the bathroom. I don't recall talking about the closet, which you brought up a few minutes ago. And then if that's right, I don't remember the second question.
So if you don't know where it was, it could have been in the closet, right?
Objection. Argumentative.
I don't know.
Ms. Arias, when there's an objection, don't answer the question.
I'm sorry.
Rule on the objection.
Okay.
Your objection is
Argumentative.
overruled. You may answer now.
Right?
I don't know.
And so as you shot Mr. Alexander, you by necessity then have to go look for the knife, don't you?
I don't know the answer to that.
Well, you didn't have the knife in your hand when you shot him. Did you?
Sustained.
Did you have the knife in your hand when you shot him?
Objection. Argumentative. It's the same question.
Overruled.
No, I did not.
So that means that if you didn't have the knife in your hand, you needed to go get it from somewhere, right?
I guess. I don't know.
No. There's no guessing here now. If you didn't have it in your hand and you just shot him and you rolled away, right?
Objection. Argumentative.
Sustained.
You got out. You were able to get away, right? That's what you told us, right?
That's right.
You needed to go get that knife at that point, correct?
No, it's possible Travis grabbed the knife first.
Okay. But you told us that the knife wasn't there. Do you remember telling us that just
Objection.
now?
This characterizes your testimony.
Overruled.
No, I remember testifying that it wasn't in my hand when the gun went off.
Oh, so as Mr. Alexander's coming towards you, he now has a knife in his hand. That's what you're telling us.
No, I didn't say that either.
Okay, so as Mr. Alexander is getting blasted and going down, he's got the knife in his hand, right?
Objection. Argumentative.
Overruled.
That was all in the same moment when he was lunging at me.
Doesn't have the knife in his hand, does he?
Not in that particular moment, no.
Ma'am, I'm asking you, at that particular time, he didn't have the knife in his hand, right?
I just said no.
and he goes down, sort of next to you, right?
Yes, we both go tumbling.
Sure, you both go down. You never told us that he had any knife there, did you?
No, I wasn't asked.
Oh, I see. So what you're saying is now he has the knife with him, right? Now that's what you're saying, he's got the knife.
I didn't say that either.
Well, which one is it, ma'am? Does he have the knife or he doesn't have the knife? You were there. This is before.
Argumentative, asked and answered about 3 times now.
Sustained.
You do then agree that if you didn't know where the knife was, and Mr. Alexander didn't have it, it would take time for you to go find that knife, wouldn't it?
Objection, argumentative.
Overruled.
I don't know. I don't know where the knife was.
Right. Since you didn't know where the knife was, it would take time to go find it, irrespective of where it was, wouldn't it?
Objection, this mischaracterizes her testimony or memory now and her memory or awareness at that time.
Overruled.
Can you repeat your question?
Janelle, could you?
You do then agree that if you didn't know where the knife was and Mr. Alexander didn't have it,
Look at them
would it take
glasses.
time for you to go find that knife, wouldn't it?
I don't know the answer to that.
You don't think that a movement, such as a step, takes time?
Again, argumentative.
Sustained.
Ma'am, if the knife wasn't, even if the knife was there, your grabbing it took time, didn't it?
Objection, argumentative. It's the same question.
Overruled.
I guess in theory, I don't remember grabbing it.
All right, in theory. And if the knife, for example, since you can't tell us where it was, but if the knife was in the bedroom, which some of the action was going on there, that would have taken more time than if it was, for example, in the closet, right?
Calls for speculation, argumentative.
Overruled.
Not necessarily. I don't remember it being in the closet, and it would depend on the point of if it were ever in the closet at all.
I'm not
or the
asking
bedroom.
you that question. My question is more about time. Isn't it true that if the knife was in the bedroom or the closet as opposed to the bathroom, that would take more time to go and get it, right?
At that point, I guess, because we were in the bathroom when
Right.
we fell.
Right. And if you didn't know where it was, assuming that you didn't know where it was back then, it would have taken time to actually look for it, wouldn't it?
Objection, calls for speculation. She has no memory.
Overruled.
I guess under that theory,
Sure, under that theory. It would take time, right?
yeah, I guess.
Well, again, you keep saying, I guess, like you don't know about time. You own a watch, right? Or at some point in your life, you go and watch us, right?
Objection, argumentative.
Sustained.
You know about time, man. You know that movement takes time, don't you?
Objection, argumentative.
Sustained.
In this case, what we have to deal with, as we did the mathematics, 62 seconds. And what you're telling us, under your scenario, is that in 62 seconds, you get body slammed, you do whatever you do, but you get away, you run down the hallway, you go in the closet, you grab a gun, you back up, you shoot Mr. Alexander. After you shoot Mr. Alexander, you pick up the camera because you said there's only a possibility, and he's already down the hallway with his throat slit. Right? That's what you're telling us happened in those 62 seconds.
It's argumentative, lack of foundation.
Because she got caught.
Overruled. You may answer.
I didn't say that was the only possibility with the camera. So that wasn't correct the way you asked it.
I'm not asking
And I don't
you
know that his
about-
throat is slit in that picture either.
I'm not asking you about the possibility. I'm asking you if you're telling us that within 62 seconds, you drop the camera, because that what precipitates these things. And we have this right here where there's some action, which is exhibit number 161, that in the 62 seconds between that photograph and exhibit 162, you are body slammed, you get away,
Thanks,
you
Virginia.
go down the hallway, you go in the closet, you get the gun, you go into
Miss
the
L,
bathroom
welcome.
again, you then turn around and you pull the gun,
We're gifted a
you
membership
shoot
in
him.
Virginia.
Oh, yeah. He goes down, he's still pawing at you and saying, fucking kill you, bitch. And then, after you're able to get away, you go get the knife, and he ends up at the end of the hallway, all in 62 seconds. That's what you're telling us?
No, that's not what I'm saying. And he didn't say fucking kill you, bitch, till I got away. And
Pardon?
he didn't say fucking kill you, bitch, until after I got away. You said he said it before I broke away, but he said it right as I broke away.
So he did say it though, didn't he?
There's not
He
enough
did
time
say
for the
that.
censor button.
And he
My
said
finger would
it
break at this
after
point.
you shot him, right?
Yes, that occurred afterward.
Right. And after he was grabbing at you, right?
Yes,
After you were able to get away, right?
right as I was breaking away.
That's when he said, fucking kill you, bitch, right?
That's correct.
And then you had to go get the knife for everything to occur so that we got here.
I don't know what's all the particulars of what's going on in that picture, so I can't even say if that's true or not.
Do you
That was
deny
not
that
a
that's your
line.
foot there? Is
Hasta
that what you're saying?
la
No, I'm not denying anything about the photo. I just don't know details of the photo.
Well, you do know the timing of it though, don't you? You know the amount of
Yes.
time, right?
Yes,
And you understand that, for example, this thing right here is blood, and blood doesn't happen unless you get cut, right?
Objection. It's argumentative. She doesn't know the source of there's several injuries testified to.
Sustained.
Now, man, the other thing there's another reason why your scenario is impossible, the one that you talked to us about, isn't there?
Objection, argumentative.
Sustained.
Well, ma'am, let's talk about this issue of him getting shot.
Lady
say
in
that
gray,
he
thank
gets shot,
you
right?
for the membership.
that's correct.
Charlene
Goes
O'Donnell,
down,
welcome to
And you
the
describe for us that howling at you, and then you're able to sort of stand up, fucking kill you, bitch, and then the fog rolls in, right?
No, then I have no memory. The fog was already there.
The fog was already there, and the fog was, when did the fog set in then? If it didn't set in then?
I don't recall an exact time, but
No,
definitely
sequence
as the
of events.
gun.
I'm not asking for time, just sequence of events.
Right, well, definitely after the gun went off, things are starting to get, my memories, I don't know, it starts to get a little bit more confusing at that point.
And at the time that your mind starts fogging up when the gun went off, you haven't seen the knife, right?
I mean, I saw it earlier.
Sure you did, but not as part of this attack, right?
That's correct.
And so we've talked about it, but you do then have to get the knife in your hand for there to be injuries like in 180,
Your
right?
Honor, beyond the scope of the questions.
Please. May continue.
You indicated in response to a juror's question, right, that the shooting happened and he went down, right?
Yes,
And that you were able to roll away, correct? Or get up.
yes,
And you stood up, and as you're getting up is when he threatened you, right?
yes, that's when he verbally threatened me.
At no time in response to that question did you ever indicate that Mr. Alexander's hands were in contact with any knife, did you?
No, I did not.
And given the time constraints here and the fact that you didn't know where the knife was, it would have been impossible for you not to have the knife with you when the attack happened, right?
Objection, argumentative.
Overruled.
I don't understand that question, sorry.
It would have been impossible to, in response to a juror question, you gave a scenario. That scenario would have been impossible to happen unless you already had the knife immediately with you, right?
Yeah, argumentative.
Overruled.
Well, since that's not how it happened, it's definitely not impossible.
So you did have the knife with you?
I didn't have the knife at the time that we fell and at the time that he threatened my life.
At the time that you shot him, did you or did you not have the knife with you?
I did not.
And you obtained it at some other point when you can't tell us, right?
It would appear that way, yes.
You say it would appear that way. Just be clear, there wasn't anybody else there, right?
That's correct.
You and he were the only ones there, right?
I'm gonna
Yes.
bite my pillow.
And
is what I'm
again,
gonna
in
do.
response to the juror question of everything happening near the door to the closet, ma'am, one of the things that you said is that he stayed down when you got up, right?
Objection, Mr. Harris's testimony and the question.
Maybe.
Overruled.
Because I don't remember a lot after that.
It's on my
Well, you
side.
did say you do remember the famous threat, or not the famous, the threat, right?
Yes.
You were standing at that time, right?
No, I was on the ground next to him and breaking away.
You're
I don't know if I was
breaking away.
getting up or what. It was just all very fast and contemporaneous with that.
And you did stand up at some point. You remember telling us that, right?
I believe I did.
And when you stood up, he was still on the ground, right?
I don't recall looking back.
object.
I don't recall
Why is
looking
that,
back.
Mr. Reed?
Because it's
So you
devastating
were,
to my case.
even though he's still a
Good
threat
call.
to you, according to you, and he's just threatened your life, you turn your back on the threat?
Yeah, I'm trying to get away. Yeah, I'm trying to get away from him.
All right, so you then try to get away. And at the time you're trying to get away, which you now seem to remember, you don't have the knife, right?
Up to that point, I don't.
Yes or no, do you have the knife at that point?
No.
Objection, so it's also speculation, should I say she doesn't remember?
Overruled.
Right at that point where my memory begins to end, I didn't have the knife at any point that I remember. So the answer would have to be no on that.
So the answer is no then, right?
Yes.
And if, again, according to what you explained to the jurors, if he's already down and is not going to be able to get up, that means that you had to come back to him, right?
I didn't explain that to the jurors.
Ma'am, that means you have to come back to him with a knife, don't you?
This is her testimony, it's argumentative.
Approach, please. The last objection was sustained.
Ma'am, at some point, you do remember that you had the knife in your hand, correct?
I don't remember that part.
Do you remember at some point indicating to this jury that you dropped the knife? Do you remember saying that?
I do remember that, yes.
So if you dropped the knife, where did you drop it from, if not your hand?
Presumably my hand, I just don't remember gripping it.
Did I ask you whether or not you had gripped it?
That's what I took it as.
No, did I ask you whether or not you were gripping the knife, ma'am?
You didn't use those words specifically.
Right, I asked you whether or not the knife was in your hand. Do you remember that?
I don't remember you wording it that way.
Did you drop the knife?
Yes, I did.
Did you tell that to the jury?
Yes, I did.
Did you tell them that you screamed, right?
Yes, I did.
So then the knife was in your hand, right?
Yes, it was.
And this issue about gripping has nothing to do with it, does it?
I would think it would.
Do you think how strongly you were gripping it is important to this case?
I wasn't talking about the strength of the grip, just that
Well,
I gripped
I'm
it.
asking you that just now. That was the question.
Will
Good
you
thing this
repeat
isn't
that?
a tennis match.
Do
There'd
you
be
think
broken
that how
necks.
strongly you were gripping it is important to this case?
Objection, argumentative and relevant.
Overruled.
I wouldn't know.
Well, you're the one that brought this up about not gripping it. You seem to think that's important. Why do you think that's important?
Objection, argumentative.
You did have the knife in your hand, right?
Yes.
It was after the shooting, according to you, right?
Yes.
And you previously had seen that knife in the bedroom, right?
I don't recall. I think it was at one point, but I know it was definitely in the bathroom, but it may have gone to the bedroom. I'm not sure.
And you did drop the knife, right?
Yes, I did.
And after dropping the knife, you took it with you, right?
Objection, characterizes her testimony as argumentative.
Overruled.
Took it where?
I don't know. I'm asking you. Where did you take it?
I have no idea.
You don't remember. You said you dropped the knife, right?
Yes, I remember that.
When the jury asked the question about items, you indicated that you took certain items. Do you remember saying that?
Yes,
And you said the gun, right?
I remember the gun.
Right? And a number of other items that you took, right?
Just the items I remember are, the items I remember are my luggage, of course, and I remember the rope and I remember the gun. I don't remember having the knife at any point after I was a little more lucid.
Ma'am, you were wearing shoes that day when you got to Mr. Alexander's house, right?
When I arrived, yes.
When we took a look at, if you take a look at exhibit 162, you're wearing socks, right?
Yes.
So you took your shoes too, didn't you?
I was without my shoes when I
Pardon?
realized what was going on in the car. I didn't have my shoes anymore.
So you're saying that you left your shoes behind. Is that what you're saying?
I left them somewhere.
No, I'm not asking you if you left them somewhere. Are you saying that you left your shoes behind at Mr. Alexander's home?
Objection, calls for speculation, argumentative.
Overruled.
I don't remember what happened to my shoes. I just know that I didn't have shoes when I realized that I didn't have shoes.
You also took your socks off before you left the house, didn't you?
I don't remember.
Well, do you remember indicating that you were barefoot when you were driving?
Yes.
So you must have taken your socks off in the house, right?
Could have been anywhere.
Calls for speculation.
Overruled.
It could have been anywhere, not necessarily the house.
The knife, where you said you heard a sound, right? When you dropped it, right?
Yes, I heard it cling on the tile.
And so you're saying now, the way you're saying it is that you dropped it in the bathroom, right?
I believe it was the bathroom, yes.
And you're saying that you believe it was in the bathroom because there was a sound of tile, correct?
That's correct.
And you have no recollection whatsoever about picking it up afterwards, do you? According to you, right?
No, I screamed and I don't remember anything after.
You just remember the scream and then away you went, right?
Yeah, I guess my memory.
The way she went.
Sustained.
You remember screaming, right?
Yes, I do.
And you remember nothing else, right?
Nothing immediately after that. That's correct.
Actually, it was for many hours, right?
Yes, that's right.
The next thing that you say that you remember is stopping on the side of the road, right?
Yes.
You don't remember gassing up or anything, right? You told the jurors you don't remember anything else, right?
There's some vague memories,
I
but
understand that, but generally what you told to the jurors in response to the question was you don't remember anything, right?
Objection, argumentative. She just explained she had vague memories.
Overruled.
it wasn't that black and white, but in general, there's a huge gap there.
And you indicated that it was the side of the road where you
An hour
finally
and 10
sort of
minutes,
started
Jody
to come
left.
out of whatever fog you were in, right?
We will end this
Somewhat,
tonight.
yes.
And you don't know which way you were
Doctors
driving, right?
Wednesday.
Objection beyond the scope of the question.
I was trying to find it. That's why I was.
By
was
that
so
point, I didn't know
concentrated.
which direction I was driving.
And you indicated to the jurors that you were around or short of the Nevada border, on by the side of the road in the desert, when you finally started to know what was going on, right?
Objection beyond the approach.
You may.
No, you can't.
Told this story about pulling off the side of the road, correct? And you indicated that you have very vague memories, or hardly any memories at all, from leaving the house until you get to this area outside of the desert, right?
That's right.
And this area is near the Arizona-Nevada border, right?
I don't know where I was.
Well, you got in your car and you drove after that, didn't you?
Yes.
And you drove towards Hoover Dam, right?
I don't know where I was driving toward, but I did eventually reach Hoover Dam.
Right. And how much time did it take you to get to Hoover Dam from where you cleaned up?
Objection, calls for speculation.
I don't remember. It's a fog.
Overruled. You may answer.
Well, I
Can't
remember
figure out how to
driving
work
in
it
the
yet.
sun for a little ways. The sun was in my eyes, but
When I have some
by the
time,
time I
I'll
reached
try.
the dam, it was dark, so I don't know how long it took.
I'm not asking you about driving into the sun. I'm asking you about the time that you stopped by the side of the road. You told the jury that you did, remember?
Yes, I
You
did.
got rid of the gun. You told them, right?
Yes.
You got rid of the clothing, right?
I believe I did.
Yeah, that's what you told them, though, right?
Yes.
And so at that point, ma'am, when you were at that road, you continued driving to a point that you got to Hoover Dam, right?
Yes, and I need to correct my last answer. I don't remember what I did with the clothes.
Well, all right, so, but you did get rid of the
He seems
gun.
to be
If you
doing
didn't
just
get rid of the
fine,
clothing, you do remember telling us that you got rid of the gun, right?
I do remember that.
And then you did continue driving on and you came to Hoover Dam, right?
Yes,
And then you continued driving, right?
yes.
Now, and before that, from the time you left the house until you got to the side of the road, you did indicate that maybe you were driving into the sun, is what you told us, right?
At one point, yes, I think it was.
And during this trip, between the time that you didn't know
Jody
what
in
was going on when you
2021.
left the house until you got to the side of the road, you put gas
I
in the
don't
car,
get it.
didn't you?
Yes, I did.
Don't
So
get
this
it.
fog had lifted enough so that as you're driving along, you do know what's going on, right?
I don't know what you mean, because there
Well,
might
you
have
know
been
the
some
car needs
sense.
gasoline, right?
If it needed gas, I would have put gas in it.
Well, no, you just told me, ma'am, just now that you did put gas in the car, didn't you?
I don't have specific memory of gassing up, but if it needed the gas, then I would have put the gas in it.
Ma'am, didn't you just tell me right now that we talked about the fog, you talked about certain images, stopping by the side of the road, and then I asked you, isn't it true that in between there, you put gas in the car and you said yes?
I did say that.
And so you were cognizant enough while you were driving through this fog that you were able to look at a gas gauge, weren't you?
Presumably.
Well, no, not presumably. Why would you be putting gas in the car if it didn't need it, right?
That's correct.
And you used the gas cans, didn't you?
I don't remember.
You don't remember, you do remember putting gas, but you don't remember what the method of delivery was?
I don't remember putting gas. I'm presuming I did, just like I'm presuming everything else about June 4th that we know are facts. I just don't have memory of those things.
You're presuming that you did, but that's not what you just told us, is it?
I didn't say that specifically.
No, you didn't. You said, yes, I did put gas in the car, right?
Right?
And when you got to, and it came from the gas cans, didn't it?
I don't-
Argumentative, ask and answer. Jody said she didn't know.
Sustained.
The items that you told us that you got rid of, or that you told the jury included the gun, right?
Correct.
You also don't know what happened to the clothing, right?
That's right.
And if we go back to the scene, one of the things that we know and that we talked about to the jury about was this camera. Do you remember that?
Yes.
You did leave the camera behind, right?
Yes.
But there were deleted images, right?
Yes.
And one of the deleted images that was on there was Exhibit 162, right?
Yes.
You did take the rope, right?
Yes.
And the knife, you said that you heard it clank, so you believe that that was dropped in the bathroom, right?
That's right.
Ma'am, everything that we've talked about that has anything to do with the crime, which is what we've talked about, you somehow, in this fog of yours, manipulated, didn't you?
Objection, argumentative.
Sustained.
Well, you did touch the camera, right? In this fog, right?
I believe I did.
Right, because of where it was found, right? And you did delete the images, didn't you?
Objection, Mr. Harris's testimony.
Overruled.
Maybe some or all, I don't remember.
You deleted photographs, how about that?
I
Objection,
probably,
asked and answered.
Overruled.
I probably did, but I don't remember.
I'm not asking.
And now for something completely different.
And now it's story time, so gather around, grab your popcorn, slather it in Slick's barbecue, and hear the tale of the foggy adventures of Jody Jumbletwit and Mr. Quackers. Once upon a time in the charming town of Forgetsville lived a quirky character named Jody Jumbletwit. Now, Jody was known far and wide for her extraordinary ability to forget things at the drop of a hat. Now, her friends often wondered if her brain was made of Swiss cheese instead of regular brain matter, but it wasn't just any ordinary forgetfulness that plagued Jody. Oh no. It was something truly unique. One stormy morning, Jodi woke up to the sound of thunder rumbling and rain pelting against her window. She slapped at the snooze button, then blinked at the ceiling, trying to recall what day it was. Was it a Monday? A Saturday? Or perhaps the elusive Pancake Wednesday? But alas, all she saw in her mind's eye was a thick, hazy fog. It was as if her memory had been replaced by a cotton candy cloud. Jodi swung her feet out of bed and scratched her head, attempting to jog her memory. She shuffled to the bathroom and stared at her reflection in the mirror, raindrops streaking the glass. She hoped that her disheveled appearance would trigger a recollection of the day's importance, but her reflection just stared back at her, equally clueless. Oh, music. All right, well, we can do that. I'll pause it for some music. Nah, not that one. That'll do it. With a sigh, Jodi stumbled into the kitchen, hoping a hearty breakfast might clear the fog from her mind. As she reached for the cereal box, she paused. What were these colorful, crunchy morsels called? She squinted at the box, which seemed to be speaking an alien language. Breakfast thingies? She mumbled, as if the fog had even taken residence in her vocabulary. Suddenly, a rubber duck on her windowsill caught her eye. It was a bright yellow fellow, its little beak turned up as if defying the storm. Awkward. Jodi grinned and picked it up, thinking maybe a bit of rubber duck inspiration was just what she needed. All right, Mr. Quackers, she said to the duck. Let's figure out this forgetfulness together. Jodi decided to venture outside, rubber duck in hand, thinking a breath of fresh air might do the trick. But as she stepped out onto the sidewalk, she found herself surrounded by an actual, tangible fog. It was as if the universe had conspired to make her forgetfulness a reality, even in the weather. Show don't tell, ChatGPT, show don't tell. Lost in the mist, Jodi stumbled upon a park bench and plopped down. Mr. Quackers perched on her shoulder. She watched as children played, dogs chased their tails, and pigeons performed intricate aerial acrobatics. She scratched her head again, a bewildered expression on her face. A friendly old man on the bench next to her chuckled. Lost in thought, young lady? Jodi sighed. More like lost in a fog of forgetfulness. I can't remember anything today, not even my own name. The old man's eyes twinkled mischievously. Ah, I see. You must have stumbled upon the legendary Forgetful Forget-Me-Not fog. It's a rare occurrence. You know, happens only when someone is meant to have an adventure they'll never forget. Jodi raised an eyebrow. An adventure and forgetfulness? How does that work? The old man winked. Well, my dear, when you can't rely on your memory, you're forced to rely on your instincts, your intuition. It's a journey into the unknown, guided by your heart rather than your head. Jodi thought about this for a moment, then grinned. So you're saying that today is an adventure, and I should just go with the flow? Exactly, the old man exclaimed. Embrace the fog, my friend, and let it lead you to unexpected places. And so Jodi spent the day navigating the fog with Mr. Quackers, discovering new places, meeting new people, and having hilarious misadventures. She found herself in salsa dancing class, serenading a park full of ducks with a kazoo, and even joining a group of amateur astronomers who were convinced they had discovered a constellation shaped like a giant noodle. By the time evening rolled around, the fog began to lift, revealing a spectacular sunset. Jodi stood at the edge of a hill, taking in the breathtaking view. And in that moment, she realized that sometimes the best memories are made when you're not trying to remember at all. As the stars twinkled above, Jodi chuckled to herself, who needs a clear mind when you can have a foggy adventure? And from that day on, whenever the fog of forgetfulness rolled in, Jodi welcomed it with open arms, knowing that it held the promise of a new and unforgettable journey, and the soothing quacks of Mr. Quackers by his side. Little did she know, her adventures would become the subject of gossip, rumor, and innuendo throughout Forgetsville, leaving everyone to wonder what exactly she and that rubber duck had been up to during that unforgettable foggy day. Then this got weird real fast.
If you remember, I'm asking you whether or not you deleted them. Yes or no?
Then the
Yes,
answer,
she doesn't remember, she can't answer the question despite his insistence.
Rephrase the question.
Ma'am, I'm not asking you whether you remember. I'm asking you whether or not, based on what you know about this case, you deleted certain photographs. didn't you?
Objection, Your Honor, again, lack of foundation, she has memory.
Overruled. You may answer.
I guess I did.
You guess you did, meaning you believe somebody else may have done it, right?
That doesn't mean
Objection,
that.
Argumentative.
Overruled.
Do you believe somebody else did it?
You made
No.
it through that. You can make it through anything on
Also,
night court.
in addition to that, this knife that inflicted these injuries, you believe that you dropped it, right?
Yes,
And you also believe that you moved it though, right?
I believe I did.
Yeah, you've indicated to other people that you moved it, right?
I indicated that I believed I did.
Well, you said that you moved that item too, didn't you? You didn't say believe, you said I moved it.
I don't think I said that.
You tested, with regard to this particular issue, did you talk to any individuals that were assisting in your case? For example, a psychologist or somebody with a master's social worker?
Yes,
And you indicated certain things to them, right?
that's right.
And you indicated that,
Objection, this will be on the questions.
Coach, please.
you also indicated that to the jury that you went to Utah, didn't you?
Yes,
And you met
No,
with an
it's
individual by the name of Brian
whistling
Burns, right?
crackers.
yes.
Quackers.
Where did you fill up with gas?
Whistling crackers, quackers.
I don't remember.
Do you remember whether or not you used a credit card or a debit card?
I don't remember.
One of the things that you do remember though is that you used a gun, right?
On June 4th, yes.
Yes, you did use a gun, didn't you? And it was in your hands, right?
Yes,
One of the other things that you indicated as part of your statement to the jury was that it was in a holster. Do you remember saying that?
I remember saying at one point it was in a holster.
All right. You also indicated it was in a box at
Oh,
another
I
time,
know.
didn't you?
I picked it.
I don't remember indicating that.
Called
Well,
a lesser
Then you
whistling.
indicated when you were being asked the questions that maybe it wasn't in a holster. Do you remember saying that?
I remember saying maybe it was, maybe it wasn't on June 4th. I don't recall.
Well, initially you did say that it wasn't holstered, didn't you?
Aw,
It was at one point.
Right. And
adorable.
so as you sit here today and you think about it, which is it? Was it in a holster or was it in a box?
Well, at that moment, I didn't have time to sit and examine it. I just grabbed it. I reached up. I didn't even get that high. I just reached my arm up and grabbed it.
I understand that you just reached up and grabbed it. I want to know whether or not it was in a holster or not.
I can't tell you that.
Even though you did indicate
God.
previously that you thought it was in a holster. right?
Objection, mischaracterizes her testimony and argumentative. He can't testify for her and argue against it.
Restate your
Nah, it
question.
goes against the grain.
You did tell us before that the gun was in a holster, didn't you?
At one point, it was in a holster, and it was also not in a holster. So I saw it a few occasions. One point, it was in a holster.
Ma'am.
One point, it wasn't.
I'm not asking you to give me this long answer. I'm asking you, isn't it true that you told us in response to a question that the gun was in a holster when you grabbed it? Do you remember saying that?
Objection, argumentative, ask and answer mischaracterizes her testimony.
Overruled. You may answer.
I remember saying that I don't recall if it was in the holster when I grabbed it.
That's what you remember now, right?
That's what I remember saying, yes.
Right. And again, are you having any memory problems today?
Not that I'm aware of.
Well, who else would be aware of you having any memory problems other than you?
Objection, argumentative.
Well, you seem to imply that I am, so maybe.
I'm not implying anything. I want you to tell me whether or not you're having any memory problems right now.
Well, I've already answered that. I said not that I'm aware of.
So when not that I'm aware of means no to you, is that what we're saying? If we're gonna-
Objection, ask and answer argumentative.
The other thing is that you indicated that you, at some point, you bought a 9mm handgun after you killed Mr. Alexander, right?
Yes,
You remember that question by the jury, right?
yes.
And one of the things that you indicated with regard to that
I learned from the
9mm
best.
handgun was that you bought it
I
for
learned from the
personal
best.
reasons, right?
That's correct.
Personal safety reasons, right?
Yes.
It's just
And
me.
and the reason that
Thank you,
you're
Shino.
were cautious
Welcome
or
to
worried
the
about
call.
your safety was because you were going to go on a camping trip, right?
That was just one of the reasons.
No, but that's what you told us though, right? That's overruled.
I told you that was one of the reasons.
That was the main reason. And do you remember that you also told them that this trip that you were going to go on required you to have a handgun because it was going to only be guys? Do you remember telling us that?
No, it was not required. It was just something that made me feel safer.
Ma'am, do you remember saying that you wanted to take the gun, the 9mm, on this camping trip because it was only guys? Do you remember saying that?
Yes, that I knew of. Only guys were going so
Well-
far. We were still organizing the trip.
That you knew of. We're not asking you to tell us anything about what anybody else knows. We're asking you to tell us what you know of. You don't have to add that on there. Do you understand that?
Okay.
Can answer the questions he poses.
Ma'am, didn't you tell us that you bought the gun in anticipation of a camping trip where there were only going to be men, right?
Objection, asked and answered. I think we're on 3 times on this one now.
Not today, Satan, not today.
I remember indicating that that was one of the reasons I purchased a handgun.
And you also said that when you were on this camping trip, that you never know what may happen and you just wanted to be cautious, right?
That, but I never went on the camping trip.
I'm not asking you if you went on the camping trip.
You phrased it that way.
Ma'am, isn't it true that I asked you about whether or not you said you never know what may happen and you have to be cautious? You used the word cautious, right?
Yes.
And you were worried about going on a camping trip with a bunch of guys and what they might do because according to you, they drink beer or whatever it is that they drink. Do you remember saying that?
Yeah, I just wanted to be careful.
Yeah. You really didn't need to go on this camping trip at all, did you?
No.
Objection, argumentative, beyond the scope.
She's queen qualifier.
And this gun that you were buying and this trip that was involved, you also told us that there were ladies that were going also, right?
We were trying to organize it, so that was a possibility, but so far I was the only lady on board with the trip.
And even though you said that you had this, you told the jury that you had this problem or this experience with Mr. Alexander, that's the reason that you wanted to take the gun, right?
Objection, mischaracterizes your testimony.
Sustained.
The fact that you had been involved with Mr. Alexander and the issue involving Mr. Alexander,
karma's in the
that was
house.
one of the reasons why you were cautious, right?
Objection, some mischaracterizes your testimony. It's the same exact question.
Approach, please.
Oh my goodness.
You remember telling us that part of the reason that
You
were
just made the
cautious
list.
was because you had previous bad experiences with Mr. Alexander and physical violence.
Yes, that was one of the reasons.
And one of the other things that you told us was that you've read the Book of Mormon, right?
Yes.
And you told us that you've read it from cover to cover, right?
Yes.
And in fact, this interest in the Book of Mormon, you also told us, started back in September of 2006, correct?
Correct. And I need to correct my last answer. I didn't read it cover to cover. I just read to the end of the Book of Mormon, but they have a huge index in the back that I didn't read. Sorry.
But you're saying that you read the content of it, right?
Of the book, yes.
And this interest started back in September of 2006, right?
Yes.
And you indicated that the way you phrased it was that, well, you tried to follow the mandates in the Book of Mormon, right?
I don't know that I indicated that way, but yeah, that would have been a goal of mine.
Sure, you told us the thing about coffee. You know, that was one of the things that the religion indicated was something that shouldn't be engaged in, right?
That's correct. It's not in the
And
Book
you
of
tried.
Mormon.
I guess the point is you try to be a good Mormon, right?
I did my best to appear that way.
And one of the things that you also told us, or told the jury, was that, well, even though you did your best, you followed guidance from certain people, right?
That's correct.
One of the people that you followed guidance from was Mr. Alexander, right?
Yes.
And that was, according to you, with regard to the issue of sex, right?
Yes.
Chastity was the term that was used, right?
Yes.
And based on what he told you, you acted in conformity, or you acted in a certain way, right?
Yes.
But you, of course, though, independently read the Book of Mormon, right?
That's correct.
And the Book of Mormon, though, does talk about life, doesn't it?
Yes.
And in fact, Nephi 9:34, are you familiar with that?
Not off the top of my head, no.
Well, let me mark something and see if this is something that you come across.
Nope.
Ma'am, you remember the jurors asking you about this issue involving the Book of Mormon, right?
Yes.
And do you remember saying that you've read the book from beginning to end, right?
That's correct.
And this Book of Mormon, you said, has guided your life, right?
I didn't say that.
Well, didn't you say that as part of the Book of Mormon, you don't engage in drinking caffeine anymore, right?
No, I said that wasn't part of the Book of Mormon. That was
what? I can't hear you.
I said that was not part of the Book of Mormon. It's doctrine that came out later.
You're talking about the Doctrine and Covenants, right?
It's not, coffee isn't specified in Doctrine and Covenants, but the word of wisdom was clarified more in the 20th century, I think it was, and that's when coffee came into that verbiage.
And this is all intertwined with the Mormon faith, right?
It is.
And this is the faith that you try to follow, right?
Yes.
And that's what you told the jury, right?
Yes.
It includes the Pearl of Great Price, right? Doesn't it include that?
It does.
These are part of the books involved in the Mormon faith, right?
Yeah, it's all part of the canon.
Right, and you've read them, right?
Yes.
And you've attempted to incorporate them in your life, right?
Yes.
And this is at least part of the problem that you had involving the vow of chastity, right?
I would say that, yes.
But these books that we've talked about, specifically the Book of Mormon, Nephi 9:34, also talks about other issues, doesn't it? Lying.
Your Honor.
Overruled. It does talk about lying, doesn't it?
You said Nephi?
Nephi, right, 9:34.
That's First Nephi?
Yes, Nephi 9:34. Why don't you take a look at Exhibit 524 and see if you recognize it.
This is Second Nephi.
Pardon?
This is Second Nephi. Yes.
It does talk about lying, right?
Yes.
And it lays it out in no uncertain terms, right?
Yes.
Okay, why don't you tell us, based on looking at that, what the mandate is involving lying?
That more or less you're condemned to hell.
For lying, right?
Yes.
Okay, I'm gonna have that back.
Good night, ma'am.
So even though you tell us that
Actually, go to sleep.
Follow the Book of Mormon, really, and that's what created a problem for you and Mr. Alexander, you really don't follow the Book of Mormon when you told that to the jury. You really don't follow it, do you?
Objection argument.
Oh.
Well, you're talking about what time period?
Well, I'm talking about your life, ma'am. This is what we're talking about. Isn't it true that you told the jury that this book sort of governs the way you style your life, right?
I didn't say that.
No, it isn't. Doesn't govern your life? Isn't that what we just talked about?
Objection mischaracterizes your testimony.
Overruled. You mean?
Can you repeat that?
Doesn't the book govern your life? Don't you run your life according to what it lays out?
Well, it's not a yes or no question. I mean, answer. So if you'd let me.
I'm asking you whether or not you use this as a guide. Isn't that what you told us in your everyday life? When the jurors asked the question, you said, yeah, that's what I use. And you told us that you've read it from cover to cover, right?
I wasn't asked that way, and I didn't answer that way.
You did tell us that you read it cover to cover, didn't you?
Yes.
Chapter at a time, right?
Yes.
That in it, it didn't have anything specific about chastity, right?
The word chastity may be in there, but it wasn't
Not
broken
specific.
down specifically.
There weren't anything specific. that you could sort of hang on to guide your life, right?
Not in that book alone.
Right.
That's correct.
And you're implying there are other books, right?
There are other
What
books.
are the 18 days
there are other
shorter
books that you read,
studies
right?
that testify?
In a different, afterward, yes, there is another book that I read.
I didn't get the first part. What did you say?
For example, the other books would be like the one you read to Desiree Freeman. That's a book that I discovered in 2009.
So there are other materials out there, right?
Yes.
And you said that you've read those, right?
I believe I've read the bulk of them. I don't know if I read them all cover to
But
cover.
if we're just going to, because of the time restriction that you put on it, let's just restrict ourselves to the Book of Mormon and back in 2006, 2007, 2008. As part of your indoctrination and to become baptized, you're required to know about these things, right?
Yeah, I think you're quizzed on them before you're baptized.
Well, sure. And one of the things is you don't lie, right?
I don't remember if that was one of the questions for baptism.
Well, no, I'm not asking if that's one of the questions in baptism. One of the questions in baptism is if you're going to follow the tenets of the Book of Mormon, right?
Objection, this is way beyond the scope of your questions.
Sustained.
So when it's to your convenience, man, and for example, the vow of chastity, then you say, this isn't specific enough. But when it comes to something like lying, then it doesn't apply to you. Isn't that what we're looking at?
Be quiet.
Objection, argumentative,
Be quiet.
mischaracterizes or testimony.
So you're telling me there's a chance?
Ma'am, one of the other things that you indicated to us was that there was a fight between you and Mr. Alexander on the eve of the Havasupai trip. Do you remember telling us that?
Yeah, the morning of, yes.
The morning, sure. And the way that fight started, actually, though, was because Mr. Freeman was
Yeah, I
trying to
remember
lighten the load that you were attempting to carry, right?
I was an infant, but that's not the
I don't
point.
think that was part of the fight.
Well, that's how this got started, didn't it?
That's how Mr. Freeman interpreted it because he wasn't in the bathroom when the fight actually exploded.
So you're saying that Mr. Freeman had absolutely nothing to do with the fight that took place between you and Mr. Alexander in the bathroom that morning? Nothing to do with it?
I would say that.
Pardon?
Well, maybe indirectly, but not the subject matter.
No, you said it didn't have anything to do with it. So for example, the fact that it started downstairs and you started to cry and went to the bathroom had nothing to do with the fact that Mr. Alexander then went behind you. Had nothing to do with it.
I didn't cry
Oh,
downstairs.
So you were happy downstairs then, right?
I didn't say that either, no.
You were unhappy downstairs then.
I was a little discombobulated because all of my stuff was gone out of my backpack. And then I thought, where is it? And so they said, it's over here. And I said, oh, okay. So I just took it upstairs because I needed to brush my teeth.
So discombobulated, is that the same thing as confused?
Somewhat, yeah.
Is that the same as being in a fog?
Well, I just woken up, so maybe I was a little bit.
And is that the same thing as having memory issues? Or is that something different?
That's different. I would classify that as different.
Okay, so you may have been a little confused at that point, right? Is that what you're saying?
Yes, I was confused at first.
And then you're saying that Mr. Alexander came upstairs and there was a fight that ensued, right?
That's correct.
Totally unrelated to this issue involving the backpack, right?
Unrelated, the subject matter of the fight was unrelated.
It was unrelated at all. The subject matter, unrelated means unrelated in terms of subject matter, space, and time. Had nothing to do with the argument that was downstairs, right?
There was no argument downstairs, but I wasn't happy or thrilled. I think I might have appeared irritated, but I didn't say anything. I just took the backpack and went upstairs. So it could have precipitated his posture of how he approached me in the bathroom, but he got really mad when he saw me taking everything out because I was looking for my toothbrush.
So there was an argument downstairs is what you said, right?
I don't think any angry words were exchanged. I wouldn't call it an argument.
Well, ma'am, didn't you just say that 30 seconds ago that there was an argument downstairs? You just said that.
I said the opposite 30 seconds ago.
Could you read back that portion, please? Her response.
And then you're saying Mr. Alexander came upstairs and there was a fight that ensued, right? Answer, that's correct.
I believe so.
Your Honor, I'm sorry.
Could you read it again, please?
And then you're saying that Mr. Alexander came upstairs and there was a fight that ensued, right? Answer, that's correct. Before that.
It was before that, correct. Her response.
Try and say that 10 times fast. Precipitated discombobulation, precipitated discombobulation, precipitated discombobulation. Whew. Oh, I got 3.
I was a little discombobulated because all my stuff was down out of my backpack. I said, where is it? They said, it's over here. I said, okay, so I took it upstairs because I needed to brush my teeth.
How about after that?
After that.
Singing in the rain. Just singing in the rain.
She was
I
unrelated
prefer,
at all, unrelated means.
Make 'em
unrelated in
laugh,
terms
make
of
'em
subject
laugh.
matter, space, and
Don't
time
you
and
know
everything.
everyone wants to
That
laugh?
was downstairs, right? Answer was that argument downstairs.
Well, we'll go on. So you're saying there was no argument downstairs. I'll take that. You say that, right?
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't classify it as an argument. It was just a discussion so I could figure out where my stuff went.
And in terms of being downstairs, wasn't it actually Mr. Freeman that was going through your backpack, right?
It was, I don't know, it was already repacked by the time I woke up.
It was what?
It had already been repacked by the time I woke up.
Raining discombobulation.
So, you were here when he testified, right?
Raining
Yes.
discombobulation.
So you know what he said, right? I'm not asking you to tell me what he said, but you know what he said, right?
I have a general recollection of what he said.
But you were here though, correct?
Yes.
And so you go back upstairs, right? And you're saying that that's when the argument really started, right?
Yes.
And the reason that that was a sort of a changing point in the relationship for you was because Mr. Alexander said something to you, right?
Yes.
And the words, according to you, that he said were, fuck you, right?
Yes.
And you said, well, I couldn't see that individual being the father of my children, right? Anybody could use that language, right?
It was hard to envision that from that
Sure.
point on.
That's what you said, right?
Yes.
But you use those words too, don't you?
I have, yes, many times.
So, for example, when we were listening to the tape back on May 10th of 2008, that's the word that you used in that conversation, didn't you?
Right.
Objection, Your Honor, to be on the scope of your question.
Sustained.
You claim that you were offended by the word fuck you, right?
By the
Objection to still be on the scope of the jury question.
Approach, please.
So, ma'am, it's true, though, that you would use that word yourself, right?
yes.
Objection.
Right?
Yeah, I've used it.
And in fact, you used it back on May 10th of 2008, right?
Yes, I did.
The other thing, ma'am, is that, is that with regard to this issue of
Not hard.
chastity, you said that
Pretty much
you
all of it.
took your guidance from Mr. Alexander, right?
Good night. Good
The
night.
specifics, yes.
Yes, sure. That's actually not true, is it?
Objection, argumentative.
Sustained.
Ma'am, isn't it true that you knew it was wrong and you said, I don't care, even if it's wrong involving the sex, you're going to do it anyway?
At one point regarding when we would go all the way with vaginal sex, it reached a point where we did say that, yes.
No, you said it, right? Not we. I'm not asking about what Mr. Alexander said. I'm asking, isn't it true that you said, even though you know it's wrong, not irrespective of what Mr. Alexander said, even though you know it's wrong, you said, I'm still going to do it anyway.
Objection, comment, question.
Overruled.
I got an
I
11-year-old dog.
Yeah, something about if it's wrong, I don't want to be right.
Needs
I
to
think I
go
used
out.
that verbiage.
So when you keep telling us that Mr. Alexander was your
If you can't
person
behave,
who
you
actually
discord.
taught you, and that the reason you were doing this stuff was because he was the one that was telling you, you knew it was wrong independent of that, didn't you?
That we were going all the way, yes, I knew that was
Well,
wrong.
no, you knew, right, and you said, don't want to be right, right?
Yeah, I did eventually say that.
One of the other things that we know about is that you claim that, when you were asked by the jury about your failure to call 911, do you remember answering that question.
That's correct.
And you were asked about that, and you said, well, it relates back to an experience that I had with Bobby Juarez. Do you remember telling us that?
Yeah, it did in part. I remember saying that.
Yeah, and you said that there was, at a point in your relationship with Mr. Juarez, there was a point when apparently there was a physical altercation between you and Mr. Juarez, right?
Yes.
And during this physical altercation, you got on the telephone and actually dialed 911, right? According to you.
Yes.
And you dialed 911, and according to you, the police called back, right?
Yes, after he hung up the phone.
Right. So he hung up the phone, but the police called back, right?
Yeah, I think it was the 911 operator.
Well, you're saying I think now, but previously you were certain that he called 911. Do you remember telling us that?
I called 911.
Okay, you called 911. So you were certain you called 911, right?
Pretty certain. I mean, it was chaotic, but I think I got 911.
Well, I know that you're saying it's chaotic now, but do you remember in response to the juror's question that you said, I called 911? Do you remember saying that?
Correct.
You didn't equivocate, did you?
I'm sorry?
You did not equivocate or show uncertainty when you answered that, did you?
I did not.
And so you called 911 and Mr. Juarez hung up the phone according to you, right?
Yes.
And then there was a return call from the police department, right?
I don't know who returned the call. He just said, shut up, they're going to call back.
Well, okay, somebody called back, right?
Yes.
And you heard him talk about this issue involving you and him, right?
He didn't talk about our issues.
Well, you said he convinced whoever was on the other end of the line that everything was all right. Do you remember saying that?
Yes.
And that as a result of that, the police didn't come out there, right?
That's correct.
And so you said, well, because of that, that's the reason I didn't call the police when Mr. Alexander that you claim abused you, right?
No, that's not what I said.
Well, you did say that in response to the question by the jurors. You were asked, why didn't you call 911, right?
Yes.
And you said, well, I had this situation with Mr. Juarez. Do you remember saying that?
Yes.
And so you're saying that just because of this situation that happened many years ago, that's the reason why you didn't call 911 when Mr. Alexander abused you, right?
No, that might have been a small reason, but I gave a bigger reason for not calling 911.
But that was part of the reason that you told us about, right? You did connect the two together, didn't you?
The question connected the two, so I answered it accordingly.
I'm not asking about the question. You responded to the question and you connected the two together, didn't you?
Characterizes her testimony.
No, the question connected the two, and I responded to the question.
Okay, so in this case, you're saying that your response was the fault of the question, not your response.
Objection, argumentative.
Well, did you or did you not connect the two in response to whatever the question was?
Objection, ask and answer.
I am your
If the question had mentioned
dentist.
both calls, or the time I called Bobby, but I didn't with Travis, then that's the reason I answered that.
Ma'am, I'm not asking you that. I'm asking you whether or not you did tell us this story about Bobby Juarez and the 911 call.
Objection, ask and answer.
Yeah.
And that was in part, that discussion was in part involving Mr. Alexander and the claimed physical abuse, right?
Objection, mischaracterizes her testimony. She's repeatedly said it's related to the question.
Overruled. You may answer the question.
Will you repeat it, please? I'm sorry.
Isn't it related? Isn't it true that you told us that part of the reason you didn't call 911 was because of your prior experience with Mr. Juarez?
That was part of the reason.
But nothing really stopped you from calling 911, right?
Objection, argumentative.
Rephrase.
Did anything stop you from calling 911?
Objection, argumentative.
Well, in the heat of the moment, yeah, Travis did. But
Pardon?
afterward, in the heat of the moment, Travis did. But afterward, I could have.
Sure you could have, right?
Yes,
And you didn't though, right?
that's correct.
You could have taken photographs, right?
Yes,
In fact, you took photographs of the injury to your finger that you suffered, according to you, at Casa Ramos, right?
yes, I did.
And you told us that you suffered this injury. Is it breaking a margarita glass or is it against an item? Which of the two is it?
I jammed it against a metal ledge as I was putting margarita glasses away.
So it's all related, okay. And so you could have taken, you remember leaving in April of 2008 to go home, right?
Yes.
Moving, do you remember that?
Yes.
Objection beyond the scope of the jury questions.
Do you remember telling the jury that you moved back to Wairika in April of 2008?
Yes.
They asked you about that, right?
I don't remember if that was one of the questions, but that's what I said.
And you also remember that you told the jury in response to one of their questions involving the injury to your neck. Do you remember talking to them about that?
Yes.
And this issue involving the injury to your neck, you could have taken pictures of that, right?
Yes.
In fact, you could have taken those pictures yourself, right?
Yes.
And because, in fact, you did it as late as June 3rd of 2008. You actually took pictures of your neck, right?
My neck?
Yes.
June 2008, I guess.
June 3rd, 2008.
Oh, yes, I did.
And in fact, you were in a car when you took those photographs, right?
Yes.
Let me show them to you.
Objection beyond the scope of the question.
Approach, please.
And you could have taken pictures of your other injuries too, couldn't you?
Yes.
But you didn't do that, right?
No, I was ashamed of those.
Now, one of the things that you told us was that during the attack, you actually went inside the closet, right?
When I was trying to run away from his attack, yes.
You did go in the closet, right?
Yes.
And you went in and you shut the door, right?
Yes.
And when you shut the door, one of the things that you did was that you went up to get the gun, right?
Yes.
Do you remember telling this detective, Flores, that Mr. Alexander did not have a gun?
Yes, I do.
Objection beyond the scope of the question.
I will. You did tell him that, right?
I did.
That was a lie? Is that what you're saying now?
Yes.
But that was on June 10th of 2008, wasn't it?
Yes.
That was one day after the police found the body, right?
Yes.
That call was initiated by you, right?
Yes.
The detective wasn't interviewing you per se. In other words, he didn't go to you and try to use his technique on you or anything, right?
Objection calls for speculations beyond the scope of the jury question.
I assumed he was, per an attorney I consulted with.
But if you assumed he was, you were aware of what was going on and you weren't going to give him anything, right?
I didn't want to tell him about his gun. I remember my heart started racing when he asked about it.
So you say that on June 10th, you did say that the victim did not have a gun, right?
Yes, I did.
Let's take a look at exhibits numbers. Let's start with number 70. You say that you're about, what, 5'5½", right?
5'5½" or 5'6", somewhere
Okay.
between there.
And you say that standing on the ground there, you can reach all the way to the top of that shelf, right?
Not standing on the ground. I stand about eye level to the picture of his dad.
I did not hear what you had to say, so eye level is where?
Where the photograph is.
Where the what?
Where the photograph is.
Up here?
Yes.
So you're saying that your eyes were straight across on that photograph, right?
Yes. I don't know if it's the top or the bottom, but it's about eye level with the photo.
Eye level means your eyes are right across from that photograph, right?
Somewhat like that, yes.
No. I would like a bit of certainty from you.
Well, I can't give you certainty unless I'm standing in the closet.
I'm not asking you to stand in the closet. I'm asking you about how tall you were, and you said, in this closet, if I stand here, my eyes are level with this photograph. That's what you said, right?
Objection argumentative.
That's what I remember because I've cleaned that area many times.
I understand that you cleaned it many times and you remember, so you're saying yes, correct?
It's about that, yes.
Okay. And in order to clean up here, that would mean that if you are eye level to that, you didn't have to use anything to get up there, right?
To clean up there, I moved the seat that's in the middle of the closet to stand on.
Well, why would you do that, ma'am? If your eyes are level with this, that would mean that your head would be level with this, whatever that is up there, wouldn't it?
Objection, lack of foundation.
I don't know if it was quite that tall or if it actually reached it.
Well, and if you were eye level to this, you could raise your hand and touch the top, right, according to you?
Objection, mischaracterizes her testimony. She just said she uses the stool.
I could probably reach up there and touch the top.
Welcome to the
You're right. You cleaned that many times, right?
Yes,
So you would know whether or not you could be able to reach the top of that, right?
that's correct.
And as you sit here today, you don't know how tall that is though, right?
Trying to
No, I'm
connect
not
another camera,
precisely
y'all.
certain.
But you said that the way that you were able to reach it is by
Mamma
reaching whether
mia.
it's your left or
Here we
right hand up
go
this way,
again.
and you could touch the top, right?
Yes, but not for cleaning.
Pardon?
Yes,
I'm not saying for cleaning. I'm saying just you could reach the top, right?
correct. I could touch it.
And you didn't have to stand on your tippy toes to do that or anything else, right?
I don't remember about that. I may have, I may not have.
And you actually cleaned in this corner here, correct?
Yeah, the whole top shelf.
And that's where you found the gun, right?
That's where I found it, yes.
And that's the gun that you claim was unloaded, right?
Objection, this characterizes her testimony. She said she didn't know whether it was loaded or not.
That's the gun
You don't have any knowledge of that gun, according to you, other than what Mr. Alexander told you, right?
That's correct.
Objection, this characterizes testimony.
So you believe that that gun was unloaded, right?
I believed him.
No, you believe that the gun was unloaded. I'm not asking whether or not you believe him. I'm asking whether or not you believe that gun was unloaded.
Objection, the honest open questions.
Well, I believed him when he assured me that when I first found it, but he did end up loading it at one point.
What's that?
He loaded it at one point in early December.
Whether he loaded it, that's something you didn't tell us before, right?
I mentioned it. I didn't say that he loaded it in early December, but I said at one point it was unloaded, and then at one point he used it.
So you're saying now that he used this gun then, right?
When I say used, I don't mean if he fired it. I don't know if he fired it. I just know that he loaded it and took it with him to go to.
In response to no other questions,
I don't understand.
yes, or no, you never say that. Again, do you have a problem remembering it? And you say that when you able to reach but the gun wasn't visible, right?
Wasn't what, visible?
Wasn't visible if you were just walking in the closet, right?
That's correct. I mean, not to me, not at my height.
Well, it wasn't visible. We're talking to you, right? It wasn't visible, right?
That's correct.
And the gun was sort of tucked back there, right?
It was just in the corner, yes.
Which means it was further back than on the lip, right?
Yes, that's right.
Which would mean that you would have to reach a little bit further to get to it, right?
Correct.
And so in order for you to get to it, even though you say that you were eye level here and that you could touch the top of this, you would still have to have something to get to the top of that, right?
Yes.
And where is it that, did you use anything to get up there or not?
Yes, I did.
What did you step on?
I stepped briefly on the edge of the shelf, and I held on to the edge of the shelf with my other hand and grabbed the gun with the free hand.
You said that you stepped on the shelf. Was it this shelf? Was it that shelf? Which shelf?
It was one of the shelves. It was one of the shelves that are on the right.
Well, would it be this shelf?
I probably needed a higher shelf to get up
So
there.
it would be this shelf then, right?
I don't remember if it was that one or the one above it, but it
could have been
was
this
one
one
of
then,
those
right?
two. Yeah, it was one of those two.
So it was this one or this shelf here, correct?
Correct.
It's my fault. I'm trying to get a puppet
Those
scene
shelves
going.
are
I'm also
resting
paying
shelves,
attention,
aren't they?
And it didn't even. My bad.
Do you mean resting as in?
Well, don't they have, for example, you can even see it here. And I'll bring it in so that you can see what I'm talking about. See there are little holes there? You see that right there?
Yes.
And
Just calling her
since
out.
you've been there lots of times, you know that those shelves have some little pegs that go in there, right? To hold the shelf, right?
I know that because I see it in the photograph.
Well, you cleaned those, right?
Yes.
And you can see that throughout this whole thing, that these are really nothing more than resting shelves with shelves that rest on 4 metal pegs, right?
Yes.
You're familiar with those kinds of shelves, aren't you?
Somewhat, yes.
Well, you've been around them before, haven't you?
Yes, I have.
And so you know, for example, let me just ask you, did you know that the rating on these shelves was 40 pounds? Did you know anything about that?
Objection foundation.
Just ask.
This fact's not in evidence.
Do you know what the rating was for these shelves?
What do you mean by rating?
How much weight they were capable of taking?
No.
But you say that you have had experience with these kinds of shelves, right?
I think I've assembled things. If it's
Sure.
plywood, I don't know if it's solid wood or plywood.
And if you, for example, step on one of these shelves with any force, and when this was happening, you were afraid for your life, right?
Certainly.
And you weren't worried about the shelves at all, were you?
I wasn't thinking about the shelves.
No, you were worried about your life, right?
I was worried about his pursuit. Yeah.
Well, his pursuit was only relevant or important because you were worried about your life, according to you, right?
Yes.
Right?
I was, yes.
And so, for example, if you're going in there, you're not thinking about making sure that everything stays clean, are you?
That's correct.
You're not going in there making sure that everything stays in order, are you?
That's right.
So, for example, if you need to step here or there, one of those two, and that's necessary, you're going to put your foot and get on up there, right?
Yeah, my foot just hit the ledge, the edge.
Sure. And you're saying that your foot just hit the edge of this shelf, right?
That's right.
It didn't go all the way into the shelving, right?
Right.
But in terms of the arrangement here, if you moved something or if you moved some shoes aside, you weren't worried about neatness, I guess is my point, when you were jumping on that shelf, were you?
Right. I wasn't even worried about moving things.
Right. Because again, you were worried for your life, right?
Yes.
There's really nothing here that's out of order, wouldn't you agree?
I agree with that.
And you did say that you did step on the edge, and you were careful to tell me that you didn't put your foot all the way in, right?
No, I would have fallen backwards if I had done that, probably.
Sure. But actually, if you would have put your foot right there at the edge, ma'am, wouldn't that shelf, the way you describe it, if you just put it here on the lip, which is what you told us, wouldn't that shelf have tipped over?
Objection, argumentative, calls for speculation.
Sustained.
Well, ma'am, you told us you were familiar with these shelves, right?
Somewhat, yes.
Well, no, you told us that you put them together, right?
Not these ones.
These types of shelves.
Yes,
You
I
told
have.
us that, right?
Yes.
You know that they rest on some metal pins, right?
I don't know about that.
Well, if you put them you just told us you put these kinds of shelves together, right?
Objection, foundation.
I've done that, yes.
Yeah. And so we talked about the fact that these shelves rest on pins, right?
Do you mean like where the little holes are?
You put them
for the
together,
peg?
sure.
Okay, I think if we're talking about
Right.
the same thing, then yes.
Objection, she did not say she put these shelves together.
Sustained.
You put shelves like these together, didn't you?
I've done that, yes. Not
And you
that
know that
size.
these shelves rest on pins, right?
Objection, asked and answered. We've done this about 3 times.
Sustained.
So you do know that if you attempt to put your foot here with any weight, and you are putting your body weight on this shelf when you go get the gun, aren't you?
Objection, argumentative, compound question, lack of foundation.
Yes, I did climb up there.
Right. And you're putting your weight on that shelf is my question.
Yeah, part of my weight, certainly.
And you weighed about, what, 135 back then?
I think I weighed 120.
All right, you weighed 120. And when you put your foot up there, you then reached up with a hand, didn't you?
Yes.
And any idea which hand you reached up with?
Whichever hand wasn't holding the top shelf.
So in addition to that, you say that you put your foot on one of these two reach up here, and then with the other hand, you're holding on to the other shelf, right?
Yeah, I just sort of jumped up there real quick and grabbed it and jumped down.
And all without disturbing anything, right?
Yeah, I didn't need to put my foot inside on the shelf.
Right, you put it on the ledge, right?
That's correct.
And you weren't worried about not putting your full weight on it, right?
I wasn't concerned about that.
Pardon?
I wasn't thinking about that.
No, because you were worried about what was coming up behind you, right?
Yes.
And then you reached up and you got the gun that was kind of in the back, right?
It was in the corner, yes.
And then you got the gun, right? And then And then you came down to the ground, and my question to you, as previously you said, there was a holster. Was there a holster there now that we've gone over there? Yes or no?
I don't.
Stay.
And you then grab the gun, right?
Yeah, I grabbed the gun.
You go into the bathroom, right?
Yes.
And you grab and turn and point it at Mr. Alexander, right?
I turned, yes.
And you told us previously that it was your belief at that point inside the bathroom that the gun was unloaded, right?
I wasn't thinking about it being loaded or unloaded. I just wanted him to stop.
Ma'am, I know you just wanted him, you want us to believe that, but didn't you testify to this jury in response to their question that you thought the gun was unloaded? Yes or no?
Gail.
I'm sorry, there was a lot of people talking.
I'm done until I can figure this out.
Isn't it true that you told this jury that when you stood there and you pointed that gun at Mr. Alexander, that you thought it was unloaded? You told them that in response to one of the questions, right?
Yeah, my understanding was that it was typically unloaded. It had been loaded at one time. I certainly wasn't thinking of shooting him. I just wanted him to stop.
Yes or no?
Okay.
She's already testified she didn't know whether it was loaded or not.
Overruled. Answer the question.
That I thought it was unloaded?
Yes or no?
I don't remember thinking this gun is unloaded. I remember somehow thinking that I'm not going to shoot him. Like I wasn't thinking that. I wasn't thinking it's loaded and I want to point it at him. I just wanted him to stop. I don't remember what I was thinking necessarily. It was just, it all happened very fast.
I'm not asking you that. I'm asking you whether or not in response to one of the jury questions, whether or not you indicated to them, the jury, as part of the question, that as you held your hand out, that you believed the gun was unloaded. That's all I'm asking.
Objection asked.
I don't remember the specific answer I gave on that. I just remember that I don't recall it being loaded, or I don't remember even thinking about whether it was loaded or not.
Then I guess would you have a quibble if I told you that that's what you said to them?
Objection argumentative.
If it wasn't loaded, ma'am, and you told us before that Mr. Alexander told you it wasn't loaded, right?
He did.
You told us that, right?
He told me both, yes.
Yeah, you told that to the jury, right?
Yes.
And Mr. Alexander said it's not loaded, right?
He said it's not loaded, and then one day he loaded it, so he said it was loaded.
Ma'am, but you said you didn't include this part about loading. You did say that he told you it was unloaded, right? He did tell you that, right?
Yeah, initially he assured me it was not loaded.
Right. And so you go with these words of Mr. Alexander telling you that he believed it was unloaded, and then you also take your belief that you think it's unloaded based on what he told you, and you take this, run into this closet to get that. What were you going to do with the gun? Throw it at him?
Objection, mischaracterizes testimony as argumentative.
Sustained.
Well, what were you going to do with the gun if it's unloaded, man?
I just
Now, given all the information that you told us about Mr. Alexander, telling you that the gun was unloaded, you believing it was unloaded, when you were getting that gun, what were you going to do with it if it's unloaded?
I was thinking of just pointing it at him because if I know personally that if a gun was pointed at me, my first instinct would be to stop. And that's what I wanted him to do.
But if he had already told you that it was unloaded, why would you believe that he was going to stop? If he had previously told you it was unloaded?
It was just a hope because that's my philosophy about if I had to look at the end of a barrel of a gun, I would stop. And I didn't have time to sit and rationalize whether or not he would care, whether it was unloaded or loaded or what. I didn't know. I just wanted him to stop.
So you grab this gun that he has told you is unloaded and you go into the bathroom, right?
That's right.
And you point that gun, right?
Yes.
You know what guns do, right?
Yes.
So if you thought it was unloaded, why are you pointing it?
Because.
Ask and answer.
Sustained.
Ma'am, we've talked about in the closet, but in the bathroom, what, in the bathroom specifically, what were you hoping to accomplish? Not in the closet, but in the bathroom. What were you hoping to accomplish as you extended your arms out with an unloaded gun?
Objection, ask and answer. There was never any testimony that she pointed the gun at him in the closet. He's trying to mischaracterize the testimony to ask the same question.
Sustained. Sustained.
The light in that closet, ma'am, it was off, wasn't it? When you went in there, right?
I don't remember.
And you had no problems, though, locating the gun, right?
I don't remember having any problems.
Even though you really hadn't seen it that often, right?
Yeah, it's not something I went and looked at often. That's
Right.
correct.
But you had no problem finding it, right?
That's correct.
So it wasn't like you were so excited or so in a fog that you had any problems finding it, right? That didn't affect you at that point, right?
I don't remember having any problems. I reached around for it. It was there and I grabbed it.
And then he came after you inside into the bathroom, and then he pointed this. In your opinion, and your testimony is that you were just pointing the gun at him when he came at you, right?
Yes.
You would agree that it requires you to put your finger on the trigger and pull it for it to fire, right?
That's my understanding, yes.
Well, you were there, right?
Yes.
And so you fired the gun, you shot him in the head, and you killed him, right?
Objection, Your Honor. Mischaracterizes the evidence.
Overruled.
Right?
Yeah.
I don't have anything else.
Ms. Arias, the jurors have some additional questions for you.
Additional jury
How many
questions?
times in total did you see Travis's gun?
I can remember 3 specific times. One when I discovered it, another time when I was cleaning that area again, and then on June 4th.
Regarding Daryl and guns, you mentioned he showed you the safety and such. Did he have you practice those things?
No, I didn't even touch it. He just went over it very quickly and then showed me where he kept it while we were on our camping trip.
Didn't even
For
touch-
verification, were you and Matt McCartney living in separate cities while he was with Bianca?
Yes, I was in Ashland and he wasn't in a city. He was at Crater Lake, which is it's more a national or state park. It's a resort.
Was it possible that he believed you two were on a break or broken up at that time?
I guess it's possible, but it wasn't any definitive verbiage that we had discussed. So he still came to my house every weekend. We were intimate. So, we didn't break up, but I don't know what he was thinking.
If you still felt threatened after having shot Mr. Alexander, why did you use a knife instead of just shooting again?
Well, I know that I dropped the gun when he hit me, and I don't know where the gun went, because when we fell, it was no longer in my hands, and I don't really remember picking up the knife. I just remember feeling threatened, and he was the immediate threat.
You said you remember putting the knife in the dishwasher after killing Travis, but you also say you don't remember anything after dropping the knife on the bathroom tile, which is correct.
Well, I know that he was trying to pin me down to a black and white answer, but I have a vague memory of putting a knife in the dishwasher. I'm just not sure if that's the memory from June 4th or if I'm confusing that with a prior incident because I've done dishes in that house many times. And I have mentioned that I do have a vague memory of doing that. And we did use his knife to cut the rope. So it's possible that that knife went back into the dishwasher.
Does being baptized generally require that you follow the doctrine laid out in the Book of Mormon?
Yes, it does.
Did you take photos of injuries to your neck?
I took a photo of myself in the U-Haul truck. It wasn't for the purpose of my injuries on my neck. I don't know if they're visible in that photo. I haven't seen it in years. I know I had makeup on there. I don't know if I'd put makeup on my arms or not. And I had the camera like this, so I don't know if it can be seen on my arms. It was mostly for my face. I think I was wearing a 49er shirt. That's all I can remember. So I know that I put makeup on to hide the bruises, not to make any record of them. That I was trying to not make a record of them.
How many phone calls, texts, and emails were exchanged between you and Travis on Tuesday and early Wednesday morning, June 3 and 4, 2008? What were the times, the length of each communication? And just so the record is clear, you've had the opportunity to review exhibits 362, 363, and 366. Is that correct?
That's correct. I haven't reviewed it thoroughly, so I'll just need to count real quick. And that was phone calls and text messages between the 3rd and 4th?
Phone calls, texts, and emails.
Okay. I know some of these are duplicates on here. Some of the calls are listed twice, the same call. So I'm not entirely sure, but it looks like somewhere between 5 and 9, I'm guessing, because some are duplicated. So as far as phone calls, text messages, I know we texted back and forth, but I don't know that there are any text messages from the 3rd that were saved or recovered. And I don't think we emailed on the 3rd or 4th.
Follow up, Mr. Neri.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Oh, wait. Did you see this guy? Watch this guy's face.
Text messages from the 3rd that were saved or recovered.
Hold on.
And I don't think we emailed on the 3rd or 4th.
Follow up, Mr. Neri.
I can't get it. I missed it. Hold on. So good.
Text messages from the 3rd that were saved or recovered. And I don't think we emailed on the 3rd or 4th.
Follow up, Mr. Neri.
This guy right here. He's like, oh God, oh no.
Thank you, Your Honor. Ms. Arias, a few minutes ago,
8
you
minutes
were
left.
asked about
And then we're done.
baptism and the Book of Mormon and following the dictates of the church. Do you remember being asked that a few seconds ago?
Yes.
Were you a perfect Mormon?
No, nobody's a perfect Mormon.
And one of the things that you would do when you're not, that you told us when you're not in complete adherence to the Book of Mormon is speak to the bishop about those discrepancies or misbehaviors, if you will. Is that accurate?
Yeah, if the transgression is serious, you should speak to your bishop. If it's something considered a little bit more minor, then it's more left between you and God rather than actually sitting down with the bishop, which is a more formal procedure for more serious transgressions.
Okay. And consistent with that and consistent with you, the question about being asked about following the doctrine, you, during the course of your relationship with Mr. Alexander, to use your words, had some transgressions, didn't you?
Yes, we did.
Okay. And so we're clear, you were not a Mormon until you were baptized into the faith after you met Mr. Alexander, correct?
That's correct.
Okay. So as it relates to these transgressions that you just told us about, did you ever seek to go to the bishop about these transgressions?
Yes, I did.
And what transgressions specifically are we talking about?
We're talking about sexual sin.
Okay. And sexual sin being that you engaged in with Mr. Alexander, correct?
That's correct.
Okay. And we're not talking about any other sexual sin with anyone else since you became a member of the Mormon Church, correct?
That's correct. Travis was the only person that I was with during that time.
Okay. And were you, as it relates to Mr. Alexander, were you encouraged to go to the bishop to talk about these transgressions or not talk about these transgressions with your bishop?
Travis discouraged me.
And as it relates to these transgressions and following the doctrine, after Mr. Alexander died, did you ever go to your bishop or a bishop and speak of these transgressions?
I did talk to him about the sexual transgressions, but I was not in a position where I admitted to him about what actually happened on June 4th.
I'm sorry, the last part of that was what? I just didn't hear it.
What happened on June 4th would also be considered a transgression, and I didn't talk about that with him, but I wanted to talk about all of the sexual sin we were engaging in throughout most of our relationship.
Okay. And you were asked another question about photographing the injuries you occurred on June 4th. Do you recall being asked that question?
The question involved the injury to the neck, not on anything on June 4th from the jury.
Approach.
Ms. Arias, I misspoke a bit. As it relates to injuries that you suffered in your neck in April of 2008, did you ever take photographs of those?
I don't think any were captured in the photographs. I was wearing makeup. I never took any photos specifically to photograph the bruises and his finger marks.
And what was the last part of what you said?
The finger marks that he left.
Okay. And he referring to Travis Alexander, correct?
Yes.
Okay. Why not? Why didn't you document these injuries?
Well, it's something that I wanted to forget, not something I wanted to focus on and remember. It has a lot to do, again, with the law of attraction, and I would never have thought of incriminating Travis. And
boy, is she up for a couple
not
of days.
anything that I felt like by photographing something or documenting it or writing it down, it solidifies it and it brings it more into, well, it was very much reality, but it solidifies it more and begets more of that stuff. And that's something that I was hoping would go away and end. And I believed it would end after I moved.
Believe what would end?
The physical violence.
You also mentioned earlier that you were ashamed of these injuries. Is that part of the reason why you wouldn't photograph yourself?
Yeah. Yes, I was definitely ashamed and embarrassed, and I just didn't want
Amber Heard.
people to look at me differently because I put up with that or went through that, or somehow it was my fault because I elicited that from Travis. And I felt like I was just ashamed. Like I didn't want people to know that he did that to me, is all.
And you believe that those injuries were your fault?
Well, I was afraid that I would be perceived that way. And sometimes I did feel like I did things that provoked him.
No further questions.
Mr. Martinez, any follow-up?
With regard to your relationship to Matthew McCartney, in that relationship, ma'am, the question was asked whether or not you were broken up at the time that he was seeing Bianca. Do you remember that?
Objection, mischaracterizes the question.
He asked, I think he or she, I don't know. The question was asked if it's possible that he perceived that, but no, we weren't broken up.
Isn't it true? Do you know somebody named Alice Laviolette? You do know somebody by that name, right?
Yes, I do.
She's someone who's assisting in your defense, correct?
Correct.
She's a social worker, right?
I don't know all of what she does.
Objection, that mischaracterizes her profession.
Isn't it true that you told her that you and Mr. McCartney were already broken up at the time that you confronted Bianca? Yes or no?
I did not tell her that. We broke up afterward.
Pardon?
We broke up after.
I know that's what you're saying. I'm asking whether or not you told Ms. Laviolette that you and Mr. McCartney were broken up at the time he started to see Bianca.
Ask and answer.
Overruled.
You didn't even say object.
Not when he started, but he continued to after we broke up.
So you weren't broken up at the time that he started to see Bianca, is what you're saying?
That's correct.
And you didn't tell that to Alice Laviolette?
No, I wouldn't have. We were still together.
All right. No. And with regard to the transgressions, you indicated that you did go seek or speak to a bishop, right?
Regarding the sexual transgressions.
And you also said that you didn't tell him everything, so you lied to him, right?
Objection beyond the scope of the question.
Overruled.
Argumentative.
Overruled.
I did not confess that I was the person responsible for Travis's death.
So you lied to him, right?
Well,
Objection, argumentative. Ask and answer.
You didn't tell the whole story then, right? That's what you said, right?
that would be accurate.
Any more questions from the jury? Counsel, please approach.
Oh, wowzers. Wowzers. Oh, Elton, where'd you go, buddy? Elton, come here. There you are. Come here. Come here. Can you say hi? Right here. Right here. Say hi. Hello. Hello, everybody. Hello. You don't even know. You don't even know, but you kind of know. Oh, man. Sorry, everybody, for the echoes, but I've got an Elton cam now. I do have a light. I will get one of the other ring lights and get it on there. We'll see what we can do. Elton does have one job. He has one job. He does it pretty well. He's a derp. He's the derpiest dog that I've ever had, but I love him. Yeah. Okay. And somebody asked what he is. He is a lot of things. He's a pity mix, but boy, he's mixed with like 25 other things. So, good boy. He also has a very hard time laying down, as you can see. He likes to walk. He definitely does have a little bit of boxer, for sure. There's also apparently a little bit of Chihuahua in there. Don't ask me how that works. Don't ask me how that works, but yep. Well, y'all, listen, thank you so much for hanging out with me tonight. Thank you to Kathy for joining me in the beginning and giving me some of her hot takes. Sheena, thanks for joining right in the middle of Mad Lib's GPT Night Court Edition and still sticking around. Thanks to everybody for all the gifts, everything like that. Boy, oh boy, I appreciate it a lot. You guys mean the world to me. Despite the fact that my car's engine seized up, I knew that tonight was going to be a nice reprieve from reality. So, thank you very much for that. Listen, thank you for showing up for jury duty. Take care of yourself. I got the gavel in hand, so don't forget. Take care of your friends and family. As Pantoufle says, don't let anybody dull your sparkle and shine on. Shine on, you crazy, crazy diamonds. Court is adjourned. We will see you on Wednesday.